Hotel and Towers Chicago, a Forbes Travel Guide 5-star hotel. Take in stunning views of the Chicago skyline from the heart of the city, steps away from the iconic Magnificent Mile and the revitalized Riverwalk. Treat yourself to exquisite dining at Terra 16 Restaurant and Rebar Lounge, overlooking the Chicago River and Lake Michigan. Catch the Navy Pier fireworks display from Terra 16's patio on Wednesdays and Saturdays all summer long. Relax in immaculately designed suites that offer the utmost level of comfort. Refresh in the state-of-the-art spa featuring a 75-foot swimming pool, steam and sauna rooms, relaxation lounge, and more. The Trump Hotel Chicago offers sophistication and elegance to downtown Chicago and is a convenient travel destination for your summer getaway. Simply visit Trump Chicago online to make your reservations today and search offers to find the never settle summer stay. Book today.
Is cremation an option you're considering for you or your loved one? At Catholic cemeteries, we offer sacred, permanent places of rest where loved ones can be remembered, prayed for, and visited for generations. Too often, cremated remains are brought home, only to end up in closets, basements, or forgotten on shelves. Memorialization is forever. Honor their life. Preserve your legacy. Visit us today at CatholicCemeteryChicago.org to schedule a free consultation or call 708-236-5490.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Larry Elder. The Larry Elder Show.
Dow Jones, S&P, NASDAQ, all three major indices hitting record highs. The hopeful passage of the big, beautiful bill, lower regulations, inflation has been tamed. I don't know. It just doesn't sound to me like we're on the verge of a recession, let alone a depression, which some people have predicted.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's July 10th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is National Kitten Day, when those little feline balls of fur show off their cuteness and melt their way into our hearts. Videos of cats and kittens can be found by the millions on the web and are a welcome distraction for so many of us during our day. However, the day is also meant to shine awareness on the responsibility of owning one of these little bundles of four-legged joy. So remember, if you're thinking of getting a kitten, make sure you have what it takes. Also on this date, in 1934, pitcher Carl Hubbell of the New York Giants set a Major League Baseball All-Star Game record for consecutive strikeouts, punching out a murderer's row of would-be Hall of Famers like Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Jimmy Fox, Al Simmons, and Joe Cronin. If it's your birthday today, you share it with physicist, electrical engineer, and inventor Nikola Tesla, born in 1856. I'm Tushar Saxena, and that's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
So, what'd you call me over here to see, buddy?
Well, wait till you see the new set of wheels
Whoa, would you look at this garage floor? Wow, buddy, is this epoxy? So smooth and shiny. It looks like a showroom in here. Wow, looks easy to keep nice and clean, too.
Yeah, it is, but...
Man, I've been thinking about getting an epoxy coating. This is a sweet-looking garage floor.
You happen to notice my new Corvette?
Oh, huh. That's cool, too.
Level 10 Coatings, Chicagoland's premier concrete coatings company. We can improve the look of your garage, basement, office, or outdoor space with customized concrete coating solutions. As Chicagoland's only certified Cimarron installer, we're setting industry standards with the most durable flooring solutions at highly competitive prices. Level 10 Coatings uses polyurea and polyaspartic coating, which is stronger than epoxy. Turn your ugly garage floor into a showroom floor. Now, with the summer special, just mention AM 560 to receive $500 off any project. Visit level10coatings.com.
Big or small, we coat them all. Level 10 Coatings, your custom concrete coating solution.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hey all, Jim Carr here. I am the owner of Carr Machine and Tool in Elk Grove Village and loyal customer of Signature Bank. As a second generation owner, I knew I had to shift from operating as an old school machine shop to what I can proudly say is now one of the fastest growing aerospace manufacturing facilities in the region. Signature Bank was there every step of the way through our expansion efforts, including financing our new state-of-the-art facility. Their valuable industry expertise and constant communication throughout the construction process made our vision possible. Many thanks to Signature Bank for supporting Carr Machine and Tool. You set the bar high for other banks.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call CrossCom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, CrossCom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with CrossCom.
Call CrossCom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call CrossCom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. CrossCom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call CrossCom.
CrossCom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with CrossCom. You can trust us with your home or business for high quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrossComPublicAdjusters.com.
We couldn't decide if we needed in-home care for Dad.
Right. Just some help here and there with bathing, organizing his meds, a walk through the neighborhood.
Oh, exactly. But everywhere we looked, we had a 4-hour minimum. It was more care than he needed. And it didn't make sense to spend extra for it.
Then we found Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. No minimum hours. We were shocked.
Now a caregiver stops by once or twice a week for just an hour or two to help with the small things that make a big difference.
And Mom loves the visits. It's not just help. It's companionship.
At Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, we understand that not every family needs round-the-clock care. We serve DuPage, Cook, Kane, Kendall, and Will counties. We conduct free in-home assessments and we guarantee compatibility. Call Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest today at 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
Experience a luxurious summer when you visit Trump International Hotel and Towers, Chicago, a Forbes Travel Guide 5-star hotel. Take in stunning views of the Chicago skyline from the heart of the city, steps away from the iconic Magnificent Mile and the revitalized Riverwalk. Treat yourself to exquisite dining at Terrace 16 Restaurant and Rebar Lounge, overlooking the Chicago River and Lake Michigan. Catch the Navy Pier fireworks display from Terrace 16's patio on Wednesdays and Saturdays all summer long. Relax in immaculately designed suites that offer the utmost level of comfort. Refresh in the state-of-the-art spa featuring a 75-foot swimming pool, steam and sauna rooms, relaxation lounge, and more. The Trump Hotel Chicago offers sophistication and elegance to downtown Chicago and is a convenient travel destination for your summer getaway. Simply visit Trump Chicago online to make your reservations today and search offers to find the never settle summer stay. Book today.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Looking for some hope? Listen to Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. Weekday mornings starting at 8. Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be partly sunny with a high of 85. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a chance of a thunderstorm and a low of 70. Tomorrow, anticipate partly sunny conditions during the day with thunderstorms possible at night. The high will reach 89. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Well, here we are, AM 560, The Answer, Chicago's Morning Answer. Chris Crock filling in for Dan Proft. I get one more day with you today. And a couple more days a little later this month, but Dan's back Friday. And this was interesting overnight, watching folks at a Puerto Rican Heritage Museum in Humboldt Park get footage and interdict several ICE, or not ICE, actually DHS officers, or HSI is probably the better way, Homeland Security Investigations. And there was between 10 and 15 cars, supposedly, and that many, if not more, men and perhaps women as well that were there that are federal officers who deal with all sorts of stuff, as you know. And so they used this as a staging ground, this Puerto Rican museum. It's called the Chicago Puerto Rican Museum. And they went there, they stopped, they gathered, they grouped. Remember with Anaheim, or the Los Angeles, was that in LA or Anaheim? One of the two with the baseball team. It was LA Dodgers, that was it. Do you remember how they also did something similar? But that was ICE and Border Patrol, I believe. This is not. The Trump administration says HSI Chicago's Financial Crimes Task Force staged and held quick briefings in the museum parking lot in advance of an enforcement action related to a narcotics investigation. So they're saying, the Homeland Security says, no, we just had our investigators stage there, come together. There may have been a confusion with the officers that they thought that this parking lot may have been public because there's a park right there, and it's easily confused. So what do you take, or what happens when you are in a rabidly leftist, progressive, and anti-ICE, calling them terrorists, having your mayor, of course, say we will never cooperate with ICE? What happens when this goes down with them? They freak out, and they say that two officers, almost all the officers stayed in the parking lot, triaging, etc., but two of the officers came and asked permission to use the bathroom, which they did. And also these folks are claiming at the Puerto Rican Museum, they're claiming that these two officers and some others were kind of scanning around looking for entrances and exits and stuff like that. They say that they asked, the people at the museum say they asked the ICE officers or the HSI officers, can we see your badge, which they declined. If they're federal agents, they don't have to show their badges. Trump administration confirms that they were on this mission, which had nothing to do with immigration enforcement. But that immediately sets off the leftists who say, you're deporting people because I'm brown. You're going to deport me. You're kidnapping people. Here's Representative Jimmy Gomez, a good Democrat. Here we go.
Here's the thing. They're not going after criminals. They're going after anybody that is brown, that looks like me, that can't pass as what they say is a typical American.
Oh, my gosh. He figured it out. Oh, my gosh. They figured us out. They caught us. This is what we voted for, to grab anybody who's brown off the street. throw them in a vehicle, kidnap them, disappear them, deport them, even if they're legal. How do they figure it out? Oh my gosh, they're so smart. Okay, so now I want to go to, they had a press conference, and you had several people. You had a couple of aldermen there, including, I'll play for you in just a second, one of the many aldermen there. There was, I'll play her piece of artist, Jesse Fuentes from the 26th Ward, along with Congresswoman, see if I get her name right. Too many names in front of me. But we had a United States representative there as well, claiming this is all terrorizing them and such. Here's some of those audio cuts. Here we go.
Yesterday at about 3:05, we watched the parking lot get filled with about 15 to 20 Homeland Security vehicles.
What they did yesterday was a blatant attack, a fear tactic.
They could be wherever they want, whenever they want, and however they want.
What this administration is doing is violating the Constitution, violating your rights.
Yes, they just showed up and they're trying to grab people and throw them in the truck. You have federal officers stopping by staging at this Puerto Rican museum in their parking lot, and everything goes to hell because they think that something's going on. Here we go.
You can't just come into communities and start looking at Latino people and saying, well, maybe they're undocumented, so I'm going to handcuff them, right? Which seems to be the tactic that we're watching ICE, the National Guard, and other cities sort of implement very widely. But here in Chicago, we are going to stand firm in that you're not going to enter private property. You're not going to come into cultural events without a judicial warrant. It's a violation of the Constitution. It's a violation of people's rights, and quite frankly, it's illegal.
And then we have this little jump. By the way, the congresswoman that was there as well as United States Representative Delia Ramirez. Boy, was she way over the top.
In conversations among one another, they also made comments about festivals happening in this community, looking at the museum in terms of their exits and entrances for what seemed to be a plan to come and terrorize our residents as they come enjoy our park in cultural and Latino events in this community.
Yes, that is exactly what the Trump administration is doing, intentionally seeking out a Latino museum and terrorizing you and every person that's brown. They figured it all out. Meantime, so there you have that. Nothing went down. Nobody was arrested. No enforcement happened. They used the parking lot as staging ground. Maybe they made a mistake thinking it was public. Now, here's a major clue. If you're one of these folks, and you know one of the things I want to ask you, do you think they know they're lying, or do you think they are intentionally lying, where they're intentionally trying to make this look like they're grabbing brown people, they're terrorizing them, showing up and shaking them down? And by the way, some of these Hispanic festivals they have coming up at this facility, at this museum in Humboldt Park for Puerto Ricans and others, they have pushed back. They have canceled this weekend. There was supposed to be a big festival of Latinos, and so they said, we can't have this because we think ICE came over in front of our very eyes and scoped this place out rather than just accidentally parking in a parking lot that is apparently private property. So do you know, that was another thing I thought about too. If you're going to do a raid on a Hispanic museum for enforcement for illegals and such, immigration enforcement, would you go there openly in the middle of the day with 15 cars and 15 or more agents, swarm the place as they claim, and stake it out? Like, wouldn't you think that any normal law enforcement entity, if they're going to do something like that, you think they would do it without these folks knowing? So it's just so stupid. Yeah, here's a major clue, too, about why this is completely not happening. These people are super paranoid and over the top. They're making themselves become alarmed and freaked out and everything. Here's another major tip on this, major clue. The people there said they also weren't sure why a Puerto Rican museum, I repeat, Puerto Rican museum, is being targeted. Because, as you may have already known, Puerto Rico's United States territory. They're legal. So, I mean, these folks are either totally lying on purpose to try to make, vilify ICE and play the game from the left, or they are fools who have backed themselves into the corner with their fear that so unrealistic, Take your pick on that. Meanwhile, we have a Catholic church, the Archdiocese, I believe it is, of Riverside and San Bernardino counties. The bishop there for the Catholic Church has officially come out and told all of his parishioners, the sixth largest congregation of Catholics in the country, and he has told them, you do not have to come to church. If you're afraid because you're an illegal, you don't have to come to church because, of course, Trump's ICE might barge in our church and round up every person. And if you're brown, he'll probably just come grab you and kidnap you, is what they're saying. And then, of course, we also have more information I'll share with you in a few minutes here on the active shooters. Apparently, there's 11 of them in total that were involved in this conspiracy to murder ICE agents. And you have probably 3 or 4 rifles, AR-15 style rifles, and several handguns and flak jackets and Kevlar jackets that were being used by almost every single one of these people that showed up, sabotaged the ICE facility in North Texas, a detention facility in Alvarado, Texas, and they were shooting off fireworks and spray painting cars. And then when ICE came out, they started shooting at them. ICE tried to just talk to them when they came out of the detention facility, but they also called the police department. When the police showed up, these terrorists unloaded 20 to 30 rounds. They were trying desperately to murder ICE agents. And these clowns here in Chicago at this Puerto Rican place with their representatives are saying that ICE is the terrorist, that HSI investigators are terrorists. Not these people trying to slaughter HSI and ICE agents in the streets. And then, of course, we had the ambush in McAllen, Texas, a couple days ago, where one of these terrorists showed up there and shot at the Border Patrol officers as they were arriving at their remote facility. So, do you think that these folks at this museum have a legitimate reason to be in fear? As if they really are, the Trump administration really is grabbing brown people off the streets, kidnapping them and deporting them? Do you believe these folks that they actually really think this is going to happen? Or do you think they're just pumping this up because, well, why not? They want to make Trump look bad and whip up their base. 312-642-5600 is our number. 312-642-5600. I got more information I'll get in with you on a couple things. The spikes, huge spikes in assaults on ICE. More details on the Alvarado, Texas attack. And I got so much more on this coming up next. Oh, my gosh. It's Chris Crock in for Dan Proft, of course. And we'll continue with that coming up next. And then after that, this one just was so wild for me. The death of the public library. Do you know one of the biggest reasons why libraries have tremendously lost patronage over the past several years? One of the biggest reasons is since they're so left-leaning, they don't want to say no to homeless people. They show up at the library, hang out all day, and do God knows what. It's quite a little story here. So we'll talk about what you've seen at libraries or places like that with these kinds of policies. They're literally allowing the homeless to come in. They're giving them Narcan when they pass out from drug overdoses. Then they vomit and they yell at the person, the librarian, saying, "Why did you give me Narcan? I was in the middle of being high." That crap is going on apparently a lot in a lot of libraries all over the country. I can only imagine the horror show that happens in Chicago libraries. And even some suburban ones, especially if they're by the jail rail, the mugger mover. All right, 312-642-5600. Chris Crock in for Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. It's news, opinion, and insight at the speed of your life. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
Good morning. It's 69 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Pope Leo is once again offering to host peace talks between Russia and Ukraine at the Vatican.
He met with Ukrainian President Zelensky in Italy Wednesday. The Vatican said the pontiff and the Ukrainian leader discussed the importance of dialogue as the preferred means of ending hostilities. The Pope also expressed his sorrow for the victims of the war and renewed his prayers and closeness to the Ukrainian people. Russia has previously rejected the Pope's offer to host negotiations. I'm Mark Mayfield.
White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles says that President Trump and tech billionaire Elon Musk had a great thing until their troublesome ending.
Trump and Musk engaged in a public feud last month after the billionaire left his role at the White House and blasted the Republican-backed mega bill recently signed into law by the president. Wiles was asked how she would describe the relationship and expressed that she didn't understand what went wrong between them. I'm Brian Shook.
This report is sponsored by Payday. Hardworking people need a hardworking candy bar packed with peanuts and filled with golden caramel. Payday is definitely working hard for you, so grab one to power you through your day. Payday Peanut Caramel Bar. Get to it. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now...
Hugh Hewitt reflects on a great month for the country.
June was one of the most amazing months of my life in terms of the good guys winning everywhere. We're going to count the first 3 days of July if we can get the one big, beautiful bill. But we haven't had a month like this in a very long time, not since maybe the Soviet Union fell apart and the Berlin Wall fell down in '89.
The Hugh Hewitt Show, afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Chicagoland traffic. The Ike, the Stevenson, the dreaded 294. You sitting in traffic is not time well spent. Time is money.
Oh, come on, man. What's the slowdown for?
Especially when you're trying to do your own company deliveries.
What is happening up there? I got things to deliver.
But instead of sitting there getting more and more frustrated,
please, can we go any slower?
You could be back at the shop getting work done.
I should have stayed at work and actually worked.
Get Quick Delivery Service to battle the traffic for you. They'll make your deliveries while you get other things done. Quick Delivery Service makes it easy. No forms, no labels, no scanning. They'll deliver large pallets of materials to important documents. Simply tell Quick Delivery Service where it's going. They'll pick it up and get it to your destination quickly. Plus, your deliveries are tracked with real-time GPS notifications. Visit quickdelivery.com and stay out of traffic.
Oh no, this exit's closed?
Call now for a free quote. 847-534-2244 or go to quickdelivery.com.
What we love about our ability to help patients at QC Kinetics is seeing their pure delight at finally being able to do the things they enjoy without pain.
I had a patient start treatment with me. He wanted to be able to be active again and do some of his sports that he really enjoyed.
Dr. Ashley Caravelli, Chicago's medical director for QC Kinetics, treats patients with chronic joint pain using their body's own biologics. The goal? Get them back to living their best lives without surgery or harmful drugs.
He came back and he goes, what I wasn't expecting was the ability to play on the floor with my grandchildren. Even just saying it now, I have goosebumps because it's changing those small moments that you take for granted.
Don't let joint pain rob you of those moments. See if you're a candidate for QC Kinetics regenerative treatments.
It just warms my heart to be able to help people live the life they want to live and get those small moments back.
Weekend appointments available. Call now. 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be partly sunny with a high of 85. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a chance of a thunderstorm and a low of 70. Tomorrow will bring partly sunny conditions during the day with thunderstorms possible at night. The high will reach 89. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Forever Remodeling. Stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the number 4everremodeling.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
It would seem that the invasion into American cities is coming from law enforcement deployed by this administration to terrorize communities. Am I getting that right?
No, you're absolutely right. This president has unleashed a war on our own people and our communities. It is terrorizing our communities. What you saw happening yesterday at MacArthur Park was just outrageous. You had armed troops, you had horses, heavily militarized. Now you're going to be able to go to our parks, and this is what we're going to experience. You know,
All right, that's MSNBC and one of their guests saying that the ICE officers are invading, and not the illegals that Joe Biden brought in, 10+ million. So there you have that. I got a little piece here on how fatalistic Democrats are. They're the ones calling ICE terrorists, including Mayor Brandon Johnson, as you know. So many more. I got a list of all the things they've said, all the people that have said it. And it's not good. Calling them terrorists, threatening them, etc. I'll share that with you in just a second. Let's go to your call about this Humboldt Park, Puerto Rican museum, where about 10 to 15 ICE, not ICE, but HSI, Homeland Security Investigations officers parked, they triaged. 2 of them had to go to the bathroom. They went in there. And then the next day, they hold this massive press conference. It's on every television station, Channel 7, Channel 32, Channel 2, Channel 5, Chicago Tribune, Chicago Sun-Times, so many stories. At some point, I just stopped. I can't read every one of them. It's like a book. And every one of them says that ICE are terrorists. ICE is coming in and grabbing brown people. And they're scooping this out. So when we have our festival, they were supposed to have a big festival this weekend for Hispanic. It was either Puerto Rican. There's a Colombian one coming up. There's several of them. They literally postponed this weekend because they think that ICE was there in broad daylight yesterday, scoping out the place with 15 freaking cars and God knows how many agents, scoping it out, scoping the entrance, and they're going to come back and do a raid. Now, if you're going to do a raid, do you sit there in the middle of the day and do this? Do you believe these people actually think that's what was going on with this, or do you think they're totally making this up and making themselves and others apoplectic over something that is just not there? And then you see, as I mentioned, the Catholic bishop in the 6th largest congregation, or population of 6th largest congregation of Catholics under this bishop, and he just said, I can't remember the exact term. It's not absolve, but whatever. You are not sinning if you don't come to church because you're terrified that ICE is going to show up, kick the doors of the church down, grab people that are brown, even without any ID. You could be a citizen. You could be a 5th-generation Latino. They don't care. Or as WGN said in the story, by the way, they said it, Latinx. WGN said the Latinx community. Instead of Latino, they're still saying Latinx. I would expect that more from Channel 7, who has just stunned me with their pro-criminal approach. All right, couple lines open, 312-642-5600. Let's go to Eduardo in Tampa Bay. Hello, Eduardo.
Yeah, Chris, when I hear a story, what happened over there in Omaha, Nebraska, they got the head guy of MS-13 here in the U.S.
Yes.
This guy killed 5 people in El Salvador with an associate.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly right. And literally, and the screeds from these leftist Chicago politicians and such in this are saying, stay out, you're the threat, you're the terrorist. They want to keep a 5-time MS-13 murderer in Chicago rather than have them being deported because they say they're grabbing people off the streets. Yeah.
Yeah. They start arresting these politicians, too.
Well, I mean, what are you going to arrest them for?
Obstruction. Interfering with a police investigation. Yeah.
Yeah, not yet. That's going to come because they're not going to slow down. They're not going to stop. Thanks for your call, sir. Craig You are in Mount Greenwood. Hello, Craig.
Hey, good morning, Chris. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you.
I don't know exactly what was going on at this event you're talking about and all that, but I'll tell you this. Crossing over our border was tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of all kinds of military-aged dudes from all over the place, even China and what you name it, coming over here. There's something of a great potential for all kinds of bad things to happen on our soil when somebody gives the word or whatever and all that. And these politicians who are interfering with law enforcement, trying to be proactive and maybe keeping their eyes open or whatever, are going to cause something really bad to happen by getting in, by stirring up this kind of trouble. And what makes it even worse, Chris, is the fact that I believe that these leftists actually want it to happen. They want to see all this. Yep.
I think you are right. There was an article that was in Axios this past week, and I have it in front of me here in my stack of stuff. But there was like 10 Democrats that spoke to Axios, a left-leaning news outlet, and they didn't want their names being used, but they said on the record to the Politico, Axios, they said that their constituents are calling and they're demanding they don't cooperate. Their constituents are saying some of us are going to have to go to the ICE facilities and get shot, and that we need blood, all sorts of stuff that's wild, crazy, and sick. And these about 8 to 10 Democrats said, and they said in this article, it is mostly white people, upper class white people. So we have a serious problem in this country with, there's radical blacks and other kinds too, but we have a serious problem in this country with elite, upper middle class and beyond and higher white liberals who are, this is their God, this is their religion, this is their faith, this is what they practice, and when it's not happening, their world falls apart.
Yeah, these people are part of the problem of the endangering law-abiding American citizens who are just trying to live here, with just some level of safety. And the way these people that are brainwashed in our school system are based.
Oh, I pushed the wrong button there. I apologize, my brother. But thanks for your call. Sorry about that. Hey, I was going to tell you this, too. A White House blaming Dem for huge spike in assaults on ICE agents. Hakeem Jeffries said that the Democrats need to fight the Trump administration in the streets. ICE agents will be unsuccessful in protecting their identities no matter what it takes. As you know, they're trying to pass a bill that won't pass because Trump won't sign it, where you can't cover your face up if you're ICE, which is absolutely ridiculous. These people are trying to dox them, trying to threaten them, trying to kill them. Trying to kill them. Over and over again. Representative Pramila Jayapal said ICE agents are deranged. It's inspiring to obstruct their immigration enforcement. That loon, Representative LaMonica MacGyver from New Jersey, was arrested and charged. I'm so grateful that she was. It's exactly what should happen. She said that her supporters need to shut down the city because we are at war. Just ridiculously limp-wristed wussy man, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz called ICE agents the modern-day Gestapo. What do you do? What do you do to the Gestapo? Do you just let it happen? Do you ignore it, or do you attack them? Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, of course, secret police terrorizing our communities. Eric Swalwell, his priority is to ensure ICE agents are no longer faceless, comparing them to some 1800s bank robber or KGB officer in Russia. So these are the kinds of crazy, crazy things they're doing as our ICE agents are under attack, under threat. Let's go to Joe in Naperville. Joe, you're on AM 560 The Answer. Chris and Verdan, hello.
Hello, good morning. Thanks for taking my call. 3 quick points. It's about time these ICE agents get together and file a huge civil suit against all these politicians and media outlets that call them names like Gestapo and Nazis. It is slander to the highest degree, and they need to sue for billions. Number 2, when you commit a crime, you're supposed to be felt to be uncomfortable. If you break out of jail, what are you supposed to be able to go into a Hilton and get a room and feel comfortable, or go to a church and go, oh, they'll never arrest me here? If you're illegal, you're supposed to be made to feel uncomfortable.
That's exactly right. And this was one of my questions I was going to ask on this whole thing. One of them is, do you think they have a legitimate reason to be in fear? I don't think they do. They weren't doing a raid. I think they're just being ultra paranoid, or they're lying to us, pretending like they're afraid. And the other thing is, are you okay with fear, with these people being afraid? These are idiots that we're hearing from in the news that are not illegal, from what we understand. But are you okay with the fear put into illegals? And you said yes.
Absolutely.
Obviously, and so am I. I've said this before, but you really hit it nicely. I want illegals in our country to be afraid. I want them to be paranoid, and I want them to leave on their own. Take the Donald J. Trump, $1,000 cash and an airplane ticket for free, and get out of this country. Appreciate your call, Joe. Go ahead. Third part, yeah.
Third point, really quick, is why is ICE going to these different places to round up illegals? Because just like Dillinger said, why do you rob banks? That's where the money is. You go to where the illegals are.
Right. Yeah, you don't go to some rural farmland. And by the way, you mentioned suing them. It would have to be something demonstrably false or a direct threat. And they're on the tertiary. They're on the outskirts of that. So I don't think you're going to be able to cuff and stuff them for anything. But it could indeed get to that level. Bill in Bill in the Northwest Side. You're on AM 560. The Answer. Hi, Bill.
Chris.
Yeah.
Couple things. First of all, if you're Puerto Rican, you are a U.S. citizen.
Yes, it's U.S. territory, but they're going to deport Puerto Ricans to where?
So two things. Yeah. The politicians that are scaring these people are lying to them.
Right.
And number two, the constituents that believe what they're saying are stupid. They don't even know they're U.S. citizens.
I mean, you literally can Google Puerto Rico citizenship, and it literally says it's as you mentioned, it's U.S. territory, and they're United States citizens, but they don't have voting privileges, etc., even though the Democrats are dying to make them the 51st state so they can rule in perpetuity. All right, we're going to talk to Lewis and Tony next. We have several lines open for you to call in. 312-642-5600 is our number. 312-642-5600. We have so much more. That is coming up. Plus, we'll get into the death of the public library. The leftist librarians are literally shutting down libraries in their fervor and zeal to take care of and do everything they can for homeless bums and drug addicts that are living in the library nowadays. Wow. Remember the good old days we used to enjoy the library? Not anymore, I guess. 312-642-5600. This is Chris Kroc in for Dan Proft. If you want to follow me on social media, at Chris Kroc Show. That's at Chris Kroc Show, ChrisKrok on AM 560, The Answer.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
For months, you've been hearing ads about Virago Immune Support. I have to tell you, this stuff is for real. I had an occasion to not be feeling well on a remote broadcast. I took it, and it is the real deal. And the stronger your immune system, the stronger your body defends against diseases, viruses, and everything else. That's why Dr. Huber created Virago, a liquid immune booster supplement. You take it daily. It's a blend of 23 nutraceuticals working in synergy to maximize effects and boost your immune system. It's the nutraceutical cocktail for an immune system, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. Virago even protects your heart, your kidneys, your liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Do yourself and your spouse a favor. Order a bottle of Virago today online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
This podcast, Alex Marlowe, brings deep research, prescient analysis, and world-class guests.
Biden was deteriorating. He was of decreased mental function. He did have major physical damage, but not necessarily the stuff that's being focused on at the moment. What's most relevant is the dementia and the brain aneurysm stuff that no one is talking about, and no one is answering that question, how much that has had an effect on his life.
Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com.
After Texas floods claimed the lives of Americans, including 7 and 8-year-old girls, discourse on social media illuminated something about the state of our nation, and it's not heartening. Some on the left jumped to politicize the tragedy. Commentators like Obama advisor David Axelrod linked the disaster to Trump administration government cuts. The claims were false. The National Weather Service office had extra staff on duty and issued warnings well in advance. But that's not the point. The bodies of some of these little girls haven't even been found yet. It's indecent to play politics so quickly at a time like this. It's a hallmark of a society that's lost its way. But it's what happens when your deity is political power rather than God himself. Whatever our politics, let's try to do better. Our fellow Americans mourning their dead deserve that much.
Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage. AM 560, The Answer.
Look, we are a welcoming city ordinance. Our local police department will not ever cooperate with ICE. Whatever their constitutional authority is.
It's wild, isn't it? They'll stop at nothing to protect illegals and criminals, and they'll do everything they can to stop us from enforcing our laws. Bass backwards to the umpteenth. 15 to 20 Homeland Security vehicles parked yesterday, triaged around 4 p.m. on West Division Street. Plain clothes, refused all requests to show a warrant or any identification. They pulled into a parking lot that touches a park, borders a park. So they may have been confused, or they may have said, well, it's open, and we're not here to do anything. We're just going to stop here, stage, out in the field in our unmarked cars with our mostly unmarked people. Two guys said they had to use the bathroom in this Puerto Rican museum, and they wanted the badge. They wanted to see if there was a warrant. Dude, we're coming together here. And so today, every single freaking news outlet is blowing this up, making it look like it's some massive ICE raid, and that they're doing a reconnaissance mission. 15 to 20 vehicles go to a Puerto Rican museum, which, of course, Puerto Ricans are American citizens. You cannot deport them. Even if you don't like them, you can't deport them. These poor fools know this and say nothing at the press conference other than, going apoplectic on this. Our number is 312-642-5600, 312-642-5600. Lewis, you're in Brenham. You're in Brenham, Texas. Yes. You aren't too far from me then. I'm a Chicago boy, born and raised, but nonetheless, I'm in Dallas.
Yeah, I'm from Chicago, and this is one of the reasons to why I left, because of the stupidity and ignorance that it comes out of the politicians in Chicago. But, I'm a Puerto Rican descent, been to Humboldt Park many a times. I have family that are there. Unfortunately, a lot of my family are Democrats. But Are you avoiding your home? Are you avoiding Chicago and Humboldt Park because you know that ICE is going to come get you because you are Puerto Rican American? Negative. I'd tell you this. I highly doubt there is one Puerto Rican that lives in that area that is afraid of ICE because of the deportation. They all know, we all know that we're American citizens. So I think, like a lot of the callers and you were saying, this is just to incite fear. And to be honest, it's ignorance and racist on the Democrat parts to try to say that, this is just because of brown people. Because, when I was in 2010, I was in the Marine Corps at Camp Pendleton, and we
Thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir. We did some cross-training with the Border Patrol down there, and what a lot of people don't realize is it's not just brown people. It's not just Mexicans that are coming over the border. You have, El Salvadorians, Peruvians. You have people from Africa, black. You have
you have 170 countries. 170 countries invading us, from Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, China. Absolutely.
and we were able to detain a lot of those different nationalities and document them. And that's what this is all about, documenting threats to America. You know, now, unfortunately, they're coming in from that lower South America part, so a lot of people automatically think that they're all Hispanics or brown people. And you know, that's just not the case. This is about catching criminals, bad people who are, you know, people that are coming to this country are not all good and looking for work. While there are a good amount of them, yes, they're not all here. Some of them are escaping prosecution in their country for murder, rape, just like some Americans commit murders. Where do they go? South of the border to escape prosecution. So
absolutely. Absolutamente sí. Louis, appreciate your call, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Tony, several lines open up if you want to chime in on this, 312-642-5600. Tony, you are on AM 560, The Answer, Chicago's Morning Answer. Chris Kroc filling in for Dan Proft.
Hey, Chris, first, if you haven't visited Louis off of Henderson and Ross, you need to take a trip there.
Okay.
But
wait, you talking about in Dallas or?
Yeah, Dallas. Yep.
Louis, I don't know. Is it what kind of a place is that? Is that a? Go ahead.
It's a bar. The original owner was from Waukegan, a Greek guy.
Oh my gosh, a Greek guy from Waukegan. I grew up not far from there in Lindenhurst. Wow.
Yeah, look up the history on
Louis.
That's
great.
On Louis, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so here I'm gonna first. You can't say, and you said they're illegal and criminals. Well, if they're illegal, they are criminals.
That's exactly right.
Right. So, and I think everyone most people agree that millions came in here illegally, and they should be out of the country. Otherwise, what else is going to happen? You're going to grant them amnesty like we did like was done in 1986.
Right. But that's one of the big things I say. That's one of the big things I say is that this is unprecedented what Trump is doing, but it's because we were invaded more than any country in the history of this world. It's never happened before. 10+ million people invading in 4 years. Never happened before in this history of our entire planet. Go ahead.
Right, but let's concede that two things happen at once, and two things can be true, like the famous saying is outgoing. Yes, they are going to places they weren't before this happened, not like they are now. And yes, people should be afraid, but we can't be outraged because the progressive left and the news stations are outraged. Because
it's just a game,
but it is happening, and it needs to happen.
Right.
So we just confront it head on. What's the solution? But they are picking up people. There's only a percentage that are criminals, right?
That's exactly right. But I wanted to pick up all.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
So where do all the rest who are undocumented and illegally here? What's the process? No one's talking about what is the process for removing them. And that's the problem.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
What is the process? There's millions of illegal immigrants here who are undocumented, whether they're from Eastern Europe or Russia, or
the Islamic Republic of Mauritania,
or Middle East. It doesn't matter. So how are they going to be removed from the country if they don't volunteer? And if they're not picked up, how are they going to be removed?
They're
What's
not.
the process? So fear should be instilled.
That's so they get the heck out of here.
So it's all happening at once, despite the hyperbolic rhetoric, which is wrong. But that's going to play out.
And by the way, we would live in fear if we were illegals in Mexico, or illegals in Turkmenistan, or in Georgia. By Russia, etc. All right, coming up next, we have some more calls we'll chime in with. I want to share this, too, real fast. There's these crazy leftists who are totally fatalistic now on these threads on Blue Sky, which is the liberal equivalent of Twitter. We'll get into all that coming up next. Plus libraries being destroyed by homeless, and people are saying it's okay. On AM 560, The Answer, WND Chicago.
Suspensions at the Secret Service. I'm Chris Foster. Fox News. Punishments are coming down over the near assassination of President Trump at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, a year ago this Sunday.
Nearly 1 year after the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, some critics are still asking why there was not a proper overwatch on that roof near the stage. The 6 Secret Service agents that have been reportedly suspended for the blown coverage, they were not fired. The deputy director defended the agency's decision not to sack anyone. Quote, "We aren't going to fire our way out of this. We're going to focus on the root cause and fix the deficiencies that put us in that situation. Secret Service is totally accountable for Butler."
Fox Lucas Tomlinson in Washington. President Trump sets a 50% tariff rate on imports from Brazil, condemning what he calls an attack on free elections.
In a letter to Brazil's president, President Trump tied that high tariff rate to the trial of the country's former leader, Jair Bolsonaro. Bolsonaro is accused of attempting a coup following his election loss in 2022 and has been barred from running for office until 2030.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. There's been a vigil in Texas for victims of last Friday's flash flooding. At least 120 people are dead, more than 170 still missing.
The community around Kerr County here came together. They packed the local football stadium at the local high school with a prayer vigil. They called it the Kerr County Blessing. The volunteers and staff working to bring victims home total more than 2,000 in this area, just in this county alone. They include searchers with Texar, a Texas Search and Rescue, the Cajun Navy as well. Governor Greg Abbott has added 4 flood-related items to the upcoming special section of the Texas legislature. They include flood relief funding, communications, emergency communications equipment, and, of course, an early warning system.
Fox's Mike Tobin. 27 construction workers and 4 more who went in to help are all safely out of a tunnel that collapsed in Los Angeles. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 69 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The Chicago Teachers Union is calling on the state to provide more funding to Chicago public schools. CTU Vice President Jackson Potter says state funding is needed to help fill CPS's $734 million budget deficit.
We are here today calling on Governor J.B. Pritzker to immediately schedule an emergency session in Springfield, Illinois, to address the needs of our people.
Union officials believe CPS is owed $1.2 billion by the state. The demand for funds comes after the Trump administration recently notified states it's withholding more than $6 billion in federal education grants for schools. And Chicago officials are suing the Trump administration over the crackdown on sanctuary cities. The lawsuit opposes the DOJ and Homeland Security for withholding funds from Chicago and other cities with sanctuary immigration policies. Mayor Johnson's corporation counsel, Mary Robinson Lowry, released a statement saying that federal funding should never be used as a tool to coerce local authorities into compliance with unlawful mandates. The Trump administration previously sued the city and state, saying their immigration policies block federal enforcement efforts. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Your home is a valuable asset, and you want to take care of your home. From roofs, siding, windows, and doors to furnaces, flooring, landscaping, and much more. Listen to your go-to for all things home. It's Home Answers Radio. Every Sunday morning at 9. Presented by Lang Home Medical Equipment, Valdicass Windows and Doors, and by JeffBuysYourHouse.com. Get answers from industry experts so you can make informed decisions about your home improvement. Right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys, and I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month. But What I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
Did you know that more than 60 million Americans are about to hit the road for the 4th of July weekend? If you're planning on traveling this summer season, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. You can earn up to 35 cents every time you fill up.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app this 4th of July. Use promo code DRINK35 to get an extra 35 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Get a limited time 4th of July offer when you download the free Upside app and use promo code DRINK35 for a 35 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code DRINK35 for a 35 cents per gallon bonus. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes, outbound 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 8 minutes, outbound about 12 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 12 minutes, outbound about 13 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 16 minutes, outbound about 15 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 12 minutes, outbound 11 minutes. Traffic is a service of Fox Valley Coins. No waiting, no problems, no charge for in-store verbal appraisals. Bring your gold or silver in today. FoxValleyCoins.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be partly sunny with a high of 85. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a chance of a thunderstorm and a low of 70. Tomorrow, anticipate partly sunny conditions during the day with thunderstorms possible at night. The high will reach 89. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
AM 560, The Answer. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Chris Crocken for Dan Proft. He is back tomorrow. Having a blast with you. Let me get right into this. I was talking to you about Democrats being so fatalistic and apoplectic and way over the top. Maybe the people that were screaming about the illegals getting deported and being terrorized by ICE and HSI, Homeland Security's investigations, in Humboldt Park yesterday, maybe they're just like these folks, and I have a real strong suspicion they are of a similar mindset. You have a woman, this is a thread, I'm just going to share pieces of a thread from Blue Sky, which is the liberal equivalent of Twitter. This woman who named Tressie McMillan Cottom, a race-obsessed professor at the UNC, University of North Carolina. One of my buddies, Eric Erickson, wrote this. And now let's go to what she said on Blue Sky and what everybody else was commenting on that, just to get a real peering into the leftist brain, the progressive's brain today. It's pretty wild. By the way, this lady who wrote this thread, that's a UNC professor, has written books like No College Isn't the Answer, Reparations Are. The real threat to campuses isn't PC culture, it's racism, and the enduring invisible power of blonde. So, I mean, she's already whacked out to the umpteenth, but here's what she wrote. I'm going to be very honest and clear. I am fully preparing myself to die under this new American regime. That's not to say, can you believe these people? That's not to say that it's the end of the world. It isn't. but I am almost 50, and it will take so long to do anything with this mess that this is the new normal for me. I do hope you run, vote, sure, maybe do a general strike or rent strike. But I spent the last week reading things, and this is not, for me, an electoral fix. So now I will spend time reflecting on how to integrate this normal into my understanding of the future. These are people that have tremendous amounts of free time and are prosperous, that can't handle. It's a shock to your system. Again, going with my theory, this is their religion. This fills that hole in their heart, that what we call a God-sized hole in the heart. This is what they fill it with. And when their world falls apart, for one of us, maybe if we are Christian or one of those, and everything we believe suddenly is a lie. These people cannot handle opposition to their political views. Did we talk like this with Barack Hussein Obama, former President Hussein Obama, when he won? No. Here's a few people commenting on what this woman posted. Quote, people say in midterms will fix it. The next president will fix it. And I'm like, my grandmothers were concentration camp survivors. I myself grew up behind the Iron Curtain. Based on that, there will be no more meaningful elections for decades in the United States. Another one says, these people are so nuts. I'm 65. One of my daughters has 2 kids with her wife. I fear for them. My older daughter lives with me and is also queer. Doesn't it start to make you scratch your head and go, wait, my daughter here is gay, this daughter here is queer? Is there anybody that's straight in your family? And this is just it's a fascinating look, a concerning look. My daughter lives with me. She's also queer. I fear for her. I'm sick to my very soul that I have family that support this regime. So this would be like you and me and one of our relatives saying this. I am in tears a lot. I am, ! I am resisting. You resist. Keep resisting. # resist. Here's another one. I've resigned from my life, unfortunately, myself, to the fact that, as well, that we're not going to win and this and that. And says, praying my daughter sees that reality in her lifetime. Same conversations over here, says another. Big, heavy talks. We're 60. My spouse is disabled and certain the government is going to kill him. That's right. Your government's trying to kill you. They're figuring it out. Our government is hunting brown people down the streets, even if they're legal and U.S. citizens or Puerto Ricans, which are U.S. citizens. They are hunting brown people down, not checking ID, not worrying whether they're citizens or not, and just grabbing them and kidnapping them and deporting them. That's exactly right. And the Republicans are trying to literally kill your husband who's on Medicaid, Medicare, or whatever. They figured it out, guys. We're going to have to be sneakier. You can't say these things without laughing. State Representative Delia Ramirez, with this whole thing we talked about in the last hour, with the ICE, the HSI people showing up and staging in a parking lot at a Puerto Rican museum in Humboldt Park, says if you have to cover yourself up to abduct people, then you're a terrorist yourself. There you go. The terrorists are not the 11 people who had multiple AR-15s, who fired off 20 to 30 rounds, hit a police officer in the neck as they were trying to murder ICE officers by firing off fireworks in front of an ICE detention facility in North Texas and vandalizing to draw the ICE officers out so they could slaughter them. Nope, they're not terrorists. Nope. All right. This story, okay, Dan, me, Sean, we all, we read a lot of stories. We come across a lot of stories online. And this one grabbed me so much. It said the death of the public library. I didn't know what it was about. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's like a 5 or 6 page story. Way too long. Way too long for me. And I'll read it, and if it starts to get lame within the first page, I'm out. Well, this had me through the whole 6 pages. Because librarians, who you and I know that librarians tend to be leftists. They just do. They totally do. You know that. Remember they were trying to cancel all the Riley Gaines book readings at our libraries? They were trying to cancel all the Kirk Cameron and other similar type of conservative Christian book readings. that they were having readings at libraries, and these leftists would shut them down and try to cancel them, including librarians, and then they'd have to get overruled by the city because you can't do that based on political beliefs. Okay, so the librarians themselves, many of them, most of them being leftists, in my guesstimation, and it's evidenced by this article, they literally think that they don't want to chase away homeless people. There are bums and homeless people that show up at the libraries across this country. So it's like a cooling station for them. They got bathrooms, they got water, and they've got air conditioning, and they can sleep in the library. They will even go there while high on narcotics or fentanyl, etc., and they will pass out there and look like they've overdosed. And librarians are being trained and told to administer Narcan to people who are literally lying overdosed in a library. Also, they're also you're not going to believe some of the stuff in this article. They are literally they're saying you are welcome here. I don't want to discourage anybody. This is part of my job. Even though they'll come in, the homeless people will come in smelly as all get out. This article says they'll come in with massive bags that homeless people carry around. So they try to have them limit their bags to how big their bags are. But they literally feel it is their duty to welcome everybody, including bums. And it is unbelievable to me that there are training programs nationally for librarians for how to administer Narcan. I flash back to when all the great libraries I used to go to that I love. The Arlington Heights Library I went to a lot growing up in Chicagoland. And then when we moved out of college to Palatine, we went to the Palatine Library there. I remember we check out CDs, videos, especially earlier on in the days. But even here, where I've been now for 15 years in North Texas, in Dallas-Fort Worth area, I mean, I have tremendous, precious memories of my kids, who are now 18 and 22, going to the library with them. They get to read these books. It's healthy. It's a wonderful environment. But leftists, in their zest, their zeal, their fervor to take care of the world, literally are destroying libraries. The numbers are crazy. How many places, this guy writes about the West Palm Beach Library where he goes, but there are people who have written books about security in libraries that once people find out that person on his curriculum, on his CV, his curriculum vitae, his LinkedIn shows that he was a former cop, and so the book publishers of this library book about security that this guy's an expert on, they pulled the book because, oh, you're a former cop. We don't want to scare anybody. So I want to ask you a few things. What have you seen, or what do you lament about the last time you've been in your public library? Are you seeing this kind of stuff? I remember seeing when I was did a talk show working my way up the ladder. I was in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and they literally had people ditching their kids at the library during the day. It is daycare for some parents. They will drop their kid off at the flipping library, and the kid will stay there for hours, mess around, get in trouble, and sometimes they'll say, you can't leave your kid here alone. Obviously, you shouldn't. So, I mean, there's all sorts of crazy things going on here at these places. Chime in. Have you seen something like this? What do you see? What have you seen or lament at your public library? Maybe you haven't gone in years. 312-642-5600 is our number, 312-642-5600. I will share some of these highlights from this lengthy piece. All right. So they're talking about how the patronage of libraries has gone down tremendously. Like year after year, they're losing like 10%, 15%, 20% of patrons, while the homeless people and the bums and the junkies skyrocket there. Let's go to George. George, you've chimed in at 312-642-5600 on AM 560 The Answer. Chris in for Dan on Chicago's Morning Answer. Hello, George in Naperville.
Good morning. Good morning, Chris. Why don't the bums just say they're in the library studying to be drag queens? The librarians love them.
Yes, they will. Then they'll say, would you like to? They'll say, oh, that's so wonderful. I'm excited. I love this diversity. Would you like to do a... My bad. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. Hold on. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. Right next to that is this one. Would you like to do a story reading? Would you like to do a drag time? What do you call it? Drag readings of books and drag? Yeah, that's what they would say. Sorry about that thing. I hit the wrong button. I hit alarm instead of Aquarius. I apologize for that. Maybe I need to go to my public library to look up how to operate my equipment here. Okay, let me continue on. Here's a guy writing about this. He's written several books. Oh gosh, this guy in this national piece was from Aurora. He ran a homeless shelter once in Aurora, and he wrote the book, The Librarian's Guide to Homelessness, an empathy-driven approach. He told this author he wanted to title the book How to Run Your Library Like a Homeless Shelter. This is going on in libraries everywhere. His essential belief, this author, says not only do the homeless have every right to spend their days in the libraries, but librarians should view their needs as a critical part of their job. He believes librarians should be trained to dispense Narcan, which many of them are. One of his seminars called Jerks with Homes, How to Deal with Members of the Public Who Are Being Jerks About Homeless Folks. You and I are jerks with homes if we are against homeless people, smelly, drug-addled, sleeping in the library. We're the bad guys. Examples of how he tells people, librarians, how to handle bums coming in. Hey, I don't care if you urinate on the Harry Potter books, but the politicians have no urinating policy. Therefore, I have to ask you to stop. In other words, hey, I'm your friend. You can pee all over the books if you. I can't believe I'm saying this. You can pee all over the books if you want, but they won't let me let you do that, so I have to stop you. But I'm with you, man. Pee all over the books, but I can't let you. Let me continue on with some of these highlights. This is so unbelievable. 312-642-5600. What have you seen at the libraries? What do you lament? Are you seeing homeless people and strung-out druggies in your library if you're going, or last time you went? A former San Diego cop who has done library security for 25 years. He wrote a book, and as I mentioned, he some of the headlines, some of the topics he covered, from pets to pedophiles and issues enforcing our code of conduct. We are losing control of a facility that has always been benevolent and peaceful. I'll never forget my Uncle Smitty, who died several years ago. He and my aunt lived in Arlington Heights, and he would go to the library all the time. And he told me about a Regis Philbin book back in the day. I was, getting my sea legs in broadcasting, and I went there, I checked it out, read it, and stuff like that. It was inspired. Those are the good days, good old days. And you can still, libraries are still awesome. Here's another one. The author of Overdue Reckoning with the Public Library, a book that describes the problems that come with homelessness taking over the library. I was only able to write this book, says the woman who wrote it, because I was no longer a librarian. Because it's like COVID with the left. They will not let you tell the truth. And so what's happening is the libraries are being destroyed, and nobody's going to them anymore because of this author says, he posits in this article. And so this, once again, what happens in a leftist city, a progressive city like Chicago, it is ruined from within by the progressives. What is happening in the libraries? They are being ruined from within by progressives who want to appease and accommodate drug users and bums and chase us away if we say, hey, I'm not comfortable with this guy who stinks to high heaven sleeping 2 chairs away from my son who's on the computer. Los Angeles librarians, he writes, have now been trained on Narcan use. And she says one of the librarians that he interviewed wondered how librarians could dispense Narcan and then host story time. Another guy says, when someone uses Narcan to awaken addicts for an opioid fix, they come back delirious and vomiting and angry you interrupted their high. They're also putting on, listen to this, limits on bag sizes so homeless people don't bring in, a garbage bag full of stuff, because they're also getting bed bugs, bad smells, homeless people bringing in all their possessions with them. Homeless advocates, including those in West Palm Beach, called this an attack on the homeless. You must let the homeless live at the library when it's open. Here we go. Oh, by the way, they talk about Barnes & Noble. They opened 60 new locations in 2025. Last year, they opened 57 stores. Quote, many readers, they said, were looking for a place to spend time and connect with other people in their community. Our bookstores became a safe and welcoming space to meet up with friends and explore the stacks. Literally, Barnes & Noble is replacing libraries, while libraries are replacing us with drug addicts and homeless people. Wild and sad. 312-642-5600. Want to get into, we're going to hit a little bit on it. Ex-CIA Chief John Brennan is now being investigated criminally. I'll explain why. I'll tell you my thoughts on that. At 6:36, also, the National Guard, this is a great piece in the Washington Examiner, the National Guard has defended our borders before. Hear the history of the thousands and tens of thousands of National Guardsmen who have been used on our borders and for security, like Trump is doing now, way more than Trump is doing now. Suddenly it's a problem. Why? Because it's Orange Man. All that next, it's Chris Kroc. In for Dan Proft, he's back tomorrow on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gabe Alice, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidisciplined practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Salem News Channel. It's America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Samsung TV Plus, channel 1177.
Perhaps you're a collector. Or perhaps, all of a sudden, you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donley Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donley Auctions. With their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions, they have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonleyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donley does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donley has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donley Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donley Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonleyAuctions.com.
Hey, heard you're getting ready to move.
We just listed our house on the market.
Just make sure you have the right attorney.
Doesn't the real estate agent take care of all that?
They stay involved, but you want to make sure you have a great lawyer that's negotiating the terms, helping resolve inspection items, clearing up title issues, preparing the deed and other documents, and attending the closing.
The attorneys at Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village have decades of experience handling real estate transactions every day all over Chicagoland. NALawGroup.com.
This is a special alert during this window replacement season. Don't get tricked by the cheapest offers and gimmicky ads. Now's the time to see and feel the difference of high-performance windows from Valdicass.
When it's time to consider new windows, siding, and doors for your home, you need to look no further. Sebastian Gorka here to tell you about Valdicass. Valdicass. Valdicass has been the trusted name chosen by thousands of homeowners, and they should be your number one choice too. But what's really behind the name Valdicass? Over 25 years of a team dedicated to providing you with the best customer service experience and products that truly bring value to your home. They are a Pella Platinum Elite Status certified contractor for a reason. They have an A+ rating with the BBB, as well as high ratings and positive reviews on both Google and Houzz. Schedule your free in-house consultation at valdicass.com.
Ask about their exclusive manufacturer warranties and their 10-year workmanship guarantee.
Don't wait. Book today at valdicass.com. For the best in class, it's Valdicass.
AM 560, The Answer.
AM 560, The Answer. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Chris Crock and Verdan Proft. He's back tomorrow, Friday, I should say. All right, if you want to follow me on social media, by the way, at Chris Crock Show, CHRISKROK, at Chris Crock Show, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Hey, John Brennan is in a lot of trouble, as is Jim Comey. Specifically, John Brennan really is very vulnerable because he lied under oath. He testified in front of Congress that he did not include nor push for the Steele dossier Russia hoax. He said that under oath to Congress. However, privately, this is so wild, horrible and wild what he did. Privately, he took the Steele dossier and he insisted that and all the lies about the fake P-tapes and all that stuff, that it must be put in the CIA's annual report on intelligence. And so here's the review. The review declassified just last week, says the New York Post, found that Brennan insisted on the inclusion of the discredited Steele dossier over the strong objections of the CIA's two most senior Russian experts, who said it did not meet even the most basic tradecraft standards. The CIA, then CIA Deputy Director for Analysis, David Cohen, warned in an email to Brennan that including the dossier in any form risked the credibility of the entire paper. John Durham, in 2023, in his Durham report, said the FBI was not able to corroborate a single allegation contained in the Steele report. So he lied to Congress that he didn't insist on it, didn't try to put it in there, and then behind the scenes before that, he actually shoved it in there against the objection of his two top people with Russian intelligence underneath him. It was all a lie. I'm going to play a sound a little bit later. We'll talk about this more coming up next. But first, we're going to get to National Guard, how it's defended our borders for years and years and decades, well over the past 100 years to protect us. And what Trump's doing today is no different. It's not even on a grand scale as it was in the past. But it's Orange Man, so therefore it's bad. We're going to talk to Eamon Blair, who wrote this piece for the Washington Examiner, coming up next. In the meantime, it's Chris Crock and Verdan Proft. Now to the news with Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 72 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. U.S. officials say 6 Secret Service agents were suspended following the attempted assassination of President Trump in Pennsylvania last year.
According to multiple reports, the agency issued the suspensions in the aftermath of the attempted shooting of Trump at a rally in the city of Butler. The then presidential candidate was left with minor injuries while one of the attendees at the rally was killed. The shooter, identified as Thomas Matthew Crooks, was killed by Secret Service agents. In the aftermath of the shooting, a review by the Department of Homeland Security revealed law enforcement breakdowns had left Trump vulnerable to an attempted assassination. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Interest accrual for student loan borrowers on Saving on Valuable Education plan will restart August 1st.
The SAVE plan was created under the Biden administration. It became a popular option for its ability to offer some borrowers monthly payments as low as $0. While borrowers will not be responsible for making payments on the SAVE plan until their forbearance ends, their balances will start to go up with the restart of interest accrual. The Education Department is urging these people to choose a new repayment plan before restarting payments. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
This news update is a service of Quick Delivery Service. When you need same-day delivery, when you need the fastest service, when you need last-minute delivery, go to quickdelivery.com and get a quote right now. That's quickdelivery.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
If you listen to the mainstream media and the Democrats, you'd think it was a sin to be black and conservative. Well, John Anthony blows up that perception every week on Black and Right. Join John this Saturday afternoon at 4 when he pushes back against the left and its regressive, progressive agenda that tries to dictate how people should think or feel about politics. Listen to Black and Right this Saturday afternoon at 4 right here on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. After Texas floods claimed the lives of Americans, including 7 and 8-year-old girls, discourse on social media illuminated something about the state of our nation, and it's not heartening. Some on the left jumped to politicize the tragedy. Commentators like Obama advisor David Axelrod linked the disaster to Trump administration government cuts. The claims were false. The National Weather Service office had extra staff on duty and issued warnings well in advance. But that's not the point. The bodies of some of these little girls haven't even been found yet. It's indecent to play politics so quickly at a time like this. It's a hallmark of a society that's lost its way. But it's what happens when your deity is political power rather than God himself. Whatever our politics, let's try to do better. Our fellow Americans mourning their dead deserve that much.
Are you over the age of 55 and want to secure your wealth with physical gold and silver? Do you want to own physical precious metals inside your retirement account, but don't know where to get started? We can help. We are Advantage Gold, the #1 customer-rated gold company in America with thousands of 5-star reviews. And for the past decade, we have been helping investors take their 401ks, IRAs, and retirement accounts and diversify them into physical precious metals like gold, silver, platinum, and palladium, tax-free and penalty-free. And we can help you too. Call us right now, 800-900-8000, and get our free 2025 Gold Investing Starter Kit, 100% free. It comes with a one-on-one masterclass on precious metals investing from one of our seasoned experts. Just call 800-900-8000 now and claim your free Gold Investing Starter Kit. Also learn how you might qualify for up to $10,000 in free gold and silver. Supplies are limited. Call us at 800-900-8000 or visit us at AdvantageGold.com. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Please consult your tax or financial advisor. Call us at 800-900-8000.
Wow. At the time of this being written, both gold and silver are up some 40%. That's 40% in just 1 year. In fact, this past year, gold has broken all-time historic records by hundreds of dollars an ounce. And unlike all other financial instruments used today, that historic record goes back thousands of years. In times like these, prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins and bars, but also those old coin and paper money collections. They're especially looking for the scarcer dates and higher grade coins. Take advantage of the record high market price and our huge demand now, whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out their worth. Fox Valley Coins is the place to go. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just 1 light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Give your liver the support it needs with Active Liver. Go to newnordicusa.com, Amazon, or ask for Active Liver at your local CVS. New you, new Nordic.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 16 minutes. Outbound, 14 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, about 20 minutes. Outbound is about 23 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 24 minutes. Outbound, 24 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 28 minutes. Outbound, 19 minutes. This report is sponsored by Dairy Queen. It's cake batter. It's cookie dough. It's the new Superman Cake Batter Cookie Dough Blizzard Treat, now at participating DQ locations. For a limited time, fly in today for this cosmic collision of flavor. And don't miss Superman, only in theaters July 11th. DQ. Happy tastes good. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now I check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be partly sunny with a high of 85. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a chance of a thunderstorm and a low of 70. Tomorrow, anticipate partly sunny conditions during the day with thunderstorms possible at night. The high will reach 89. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Well, Chris Crock, Billion for Dan Properties, back tomorrow on AM 560, The Answer, Chicago's Morning Answer. All right, our guest is not coming on right now, so that's fine. Gives me more time to talk with you. John Brennan, the former CIA director. I think he's nailed. I mean, you never know till you never know. I think he's nailed. And I think he should be nailed. Not out of vindictiveness, but out of fact. I mean, just the lie of the former 50 former intelligence agents or whatever. That whole lie with the laptop. That was trying to rig the election. These clowns talk about, oh, you're trying to rig the election. Oh, you're trying to, undermine democracy. We're saving democracy. Yes, by trying to rig elections in America, of all places. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's okay to rig other people's elections, just not ours. Which I'm sure the CIA has done many times and is very good at. Oh, but before I forget, I want to mention this. I should be mentioning this throughout the show today. Shame on me for not mentioning it until an hour and 41 minutes into the show. I will be on television tomorrow. You can watch me it's a Salem product. So you heard a commercial for Salem News Channel. You hear those from time to time here on News Talk, not News Talk, but AM 560, The Answer, Chicago's Morning Answer. So I will be on Salem News Channel tomorrow, which is television. It's their television network for Salem, which owns this great station and shares our values. Very much so, which is very important to me. So 9 p.m. Well, actually, it's 9 p.m. Eastern. It should be 8 p.m. Central, our time. So 8 p.m. Central for the show called Wilkow, Wilkow. You can tune in on Salem News Channel. If you miss it, you can just go to salemnewschannel.com and you can watch me because they put it online once the show is over with. So there you go. You can also see me this morning on Chicago's Morning Answers YouTube channel. Just go to just Google YouTube Chicago's Morning Answer. It'll come right up. You can watch me live. Okay. So John Brennan, he's in a lot of trouble because the 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment, ICA, apparently it's like a annual report on what they're assessing. In there, Brennan, according to recently declassified files and informations, Brennan forced the CIA agents, the two top CIA most senior Russian experts. They said, don't put the Steele dossier in. It's ridiculous. There's no proof of anything. And John Brennan said, you must put this in. He shoved it through. He would not let anybody change his mind. He forced it in. And these two senior Russian CIA officers were incredulous and livid because they knew there was not one shred of evidence in there that was accurate or true. And then fast forward months later, when John Brennan was brought in front of Congress for testimony and was asked directly, did you put the Steele dossier in there? Did you insist? All that kind of stuff. He said no. Now, John Ratcliffe, here's the other thing that's very interesting. Here's two things that are very, very interesting. Trey Gowdy, who, is on Fox News, has his own show, and he's a guest a lot. And Trey is not nowhere in the camp of a Trump-type Republican. But he agrees with them when he thinks he's right, and he speaks the truth. But he is no, guy that's a leg humper of Trump's at all. And some of the stuff he talks about or some of the positions he takes, I just overlook or ignore. 'Cause I'm like, dude, no, that's just you being a milquetoast type of a Republican, a rhino, whatever you want to call him. But Trey Gowdy yesterday, when interviewed about this on Martha McCallum's show on Fox News, he literally said, this is absolutely, he is nailed. That Brennan is nailed. And Trey Gowdy used to be a federal prosecutor, so he knows how this works. He said, Brennan is nailed. And he said, you know who was the one that knew this was all a lie and knew that he was being lied to? John Ratcliffe, current CIA director. Because John Ratcliffe at the time, I think he was on the intelligence committee or something like that as a congressman. He's from the part of the country where I live now, which is in North Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth area. So he knew when he was in Congress that John Brennan lied. And then when he became the CIA director with Trump's second term, thank God, he dug in there and he declassified, and now here it is. He's referring John Brennan for lying to Congress for a criminal investigation to the FBI and Department of Justice. And I think John Brennan's in big trouble, and I hope he is. Because here's the thing. There's politics that both sides do, our side, their side, etc. We know how that works. It's a game. But there is no politics when you insert something to try to stop the duly elected president from becoming president. And that's what he did. And when you have the power and the supposed, all-knowing eye of Sauron from the CIA, and you use that to rig an election, you have to go to jail. You have to go to jail. Now, will he be convicted? I don't know, but when I hear Trey Gowdy talk about it, it seems like cut and dry. This guy's going to get nailed. And I could not be happier. He has got to be squirming. Here he is on fake news MSNBC, I think it was yesterday. Former CIA Director John Brennan.
Russia interfered. They tried to help Donald Trump. They tried to hurt Hillary Clinton. They tried to, undermine the democratic foundations of our country in terms of our election integrity. This has been validated over and over again. Move on. Get over it.
Yeah, get over it. Move on. That's what they're trying to tell us about Biden and the subpoenaing and investigations from his senility and the cover-up. Move on, get over it. And he talks about Russia. They try to influence the election. He's pointing to a shiny lure to try to distract you. But in fact, which of course, surprise, surprise, being a former CIA director, but when in fact, this is a big deal. And, do you remember how they told us Russia rigged the election? And Hillary Clinton continues to say that, and John Brennan's saying that? Do you remember what Russia did? From my recollection, they dropped a couple $100,000 at best, maybe more, but on social media buys and trying to maybe some bots too and that kind of stuff to try to influence the election online to get Hillary the election because they knew that she would be horrible compared to Trump. Trump would be much more effective against the Russians. And so they wanted to help, but the amount of help they gave, and by the way, I remember reading years ago with this that not nothing was affected. The outcome of the election, nothing was affected. The Russian so-called influence this guy talks about is bogus. Yeah, as I recall, a couple 100,000 worth of social media buys and some other stuff. So it's absolutely nothing. And I don't even know if it changed one vote or if it did more than a couple hundred votes nationwide or something of that nature. So there was no Russian influence or interference. They continue to lie and promulgate that lie to try to distract you from what they did. They tried to rig that election, and they tried to rig it again this time. And in their efforts to rig the election, we win. They helped Trump. That's how God works. You want to be an idiot? You want to dig a pit for somebody to fall in? You'll fall in it. And that's what they did. And now he's being called into the carpet because regardless of politics, you do this, you lie, you use your position as a CIA, the head of CIA, you have to go to jail. Comey. You know what's interesting? In everything I've read, there's almost nothing about Comey other than he's being investigated too. And I have no doubt that he did the exact same thing. But almost all the coverage has really been on Brennan. And I very much look forward to this investigation continuing. If you want to chime in, 312-642-5600 is our number. 312-642-5600. So that's where he's at. That's where that is at. The full scope, Fox News reports, into the criminal investigations of Brennan and Comey is unclear, but two sources describe the FBI's view of the duo's interactions as a conspiracy. You have some serious federal charges with conspiracy if you two are working together, or you and others are working together to overthrow the election, and that's what they did. There's no doubt in my mind. I think, what's his name? Comey might need to spell out some seashells on the beach, spell help, and put up a GoFundMe address on his in shells on his beach, and take pictures of it and put it on his social media. That turd. Okay, Marvin, you are in Burlington, Wisconsin. You're live on AM 560. The Answer. Chris in for Dan. Hello.
Good morning. Yes, Brennan's guilty, Comey's guilty, Clapper's guilty.
Yes.
They're all guilty, but these guys don't go to the bathroom without asking permission. And who do they get permission from? Who started this plot and this conspiracy? Obama.
Yes.
And Hillary Clinton. And Hillary Clinton's campaign paid for it, the Steele dossier.
Yes.
I think this is all documented. When are they going to be called on? When are they going to be called onto the carpet? And you know what? Obama never will, because he's become this icon in the media for the blacks.
Yeah.
And you can't touch him. He's almost like the OJ. You can't convict him. You can't hurt him. You can't disparage him or say that he's not. You can't make him out to be who he really is, because that would be detrimental to the whole black caucus, or whatever you want to call the cabal. But they will never be called on the carpet. Never. There'll be something. There'll be statute of limitations or whatnot.
Some of the statutes of limitation have expired on Brennan, but the one they're going after him for now is not expired, which is good. And I wanted to share something else with you. It's exactly what you were talking about and how they operated this. When they came in and they said, we have this Russian stuff and we can do this and that, they presented it, the CIA folks, Brennan and Comey most likely as well. They brought it in front of Obama, and Obama gave it the go-ahead. So, this absolutely is and was a conspiracy. But I actually think they're not afraid. Trump's administration is not afraid to put anybody under oath, and as witnessed by Biden's doctor yesterday, who pleaded the Fifth, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and Steve Ricchetti, all these top Biden acolytes who were really running the show, calling them, putting them under oath, and interviewing them. And I think you're going to see the same thing with Hillary Clinton in this, because if it's a conspiracy, they're going to bring in everybody. And by the way, you know how this works. A lot of people get busted by the FBI, not for the crime, but for the process crime. In the middle of the process of them investigating, if you lie to them and they catch you, you go to jail. If they want you to go to jail, you go to jail for that.
Well, I don't think that Obama will ever see the darkness of a jail cell, although he deserves to, because he is the reason why we're having a lot of problems that we are having in this country right now. No question about it.
I appreciate your call, man. Great take, Marvin.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here we go. This is it's a lengthy piece in Fox News when they broke the story first 2 days ago. On July 28th, in 2016, Brennan briefed Obama on a plan from one of Clinton's campaign foreign policy advisors. I repeat, Brennan briefed former President Hussein Obama in 2016 on a plan from one of the Clintons' campaign's foreign policy advisors to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal claiming interference by the Russian security service. Vice President Joe Biden, Attorney General Loretta Lynch, former DNI James Clapper were in the Brennan-Obama briefing. They all knew. They were taking Hillary Clinton's paid-for fake dossier, using it for everything, and going to go after Trump to destroy him and pull up Hillary. And they did it intentionally, it says in here, to keep our attention off of Hillary with her emails and the bleach bit, destroying the hard drives, and put it on Trump. After the briefing, Fox News said the CIA properly forwarded that information about the fake dossier, treating it like it was real. They forwarded it to through a counterintelligence lead to Comey. Here's the conspiracy. And then Deputy Assistant Director of Counterintelligence Peter Strzok. Does that sound familiar? Peter Strzok. With the subject line, Crossfire Hurricane. They made it up, briefed Hussein Obama, knew it was all fake, knew it was paid for by Hillary Clinton, and then sent it over to the FBI. So here's why they got Comey. I mean, I read through this the other day. I highlighted it all, but just sitting here openly, reading it off from my highlights. After the briefing, they forwarded it to Comey, and then Peter Strzok, and the subject line: Crossfire Hurricane. They did it. They made something up completely fake. They knew it was. They shoved it in the intelligence assessment against the will of the top two Russian intelligence folks. They briefed Hussein Obama. He said, "You go. Take Trump down. Give the lozenge lizard Hillary Clinton the presidency." And by God's grace, it did not happen. 312-642-5600 is our number. We're going to talk to Owen when we get back, coming up next in Willowbrook, plus your call. This is Chris Crocken for Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
People ask us all the time, when's the best time to replace an old air conditioner? Simple, before it breaks. Because when it does, you know it'll be the hottest day of the year, and suddenly you're scrambling like hundreds of others to get help during a heat wave. At Air Right Heating and Cooling, we've seen it all. We know there's never a good time to be without AC, especially in Chicagoland, where the humidity can make 80 degrees feel like 100. At Air Right, our experienced technicians don't just work fast, they'll do it right. Browse through our more than 1,500 5-star Google reviews to see what our loyal customers love most about us. If it's been a while since your system was inspected, don't wait for a heat wave before having it checked out. And right now, AM 560 listeners receive $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right, doing it right since 1959.
Hey, this is Sean Thompson. You know, there's an old joke about Uncle Sam's tax short form. The first line says, "How much did you make?" The next line says, "Send it in." Sadly, that's not funny at all for honest people who pay taxes. But that's exactly what a lot of people do in their retirement. They take money out of their 401k and their IRA, and they send it into the IRS. Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group believes there's a better plan for your retirement than Uncle Sam's plan of send it in. What if your current plan includes thousands of dollars in unnecessary taxes and fees? What if you're headed for higher Medicare payments, lower Social Security checks? What if the savings you may realize allows you to retire even earlier? Wouldn't you want to know all of that right now? Call Tom Fortino and the team at Alpha Wealth Group and find out today. Call 630-864-6711. The number again, 630-864-6711. You can also visit alphawealthgroup.com to schedule your no-obligation consultation.
AM 560, The Answer.
Do you remember producer Quinn and I talking, and Justin, Brown's Chicken, it tastes better. Remember the Brown's Chicken Massacre? We have an author coming up that has that's 32 years ago that happened. We have an author who just wrote a book about it that is, I can't wait to talk to him. It's going to be fascinating. I was in Buffalo Grove at the time when the murders happened, and literally I'm one suburb over from Palatine, and I didn't know exactly where that was on Northwest Highway where it happened. I was about 20 years old when it went down. We'll get to that coming up next with the author. But first, let's go to Owen from Willowbrook talking about Comey and, Brennan being investigated criminally now for lying about the intelligence stuff. All right, Owen, go ahead. You got about 20 seconds. Just go, bro. Go, bro.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for the call.
Yeah.
Hey, I think that I agree with the indictments. I actually think they would be found guilty. The only problem is in the District of Washington, I don't think you'd be able to, it's such a liberal district. I think they almost have to charge them in another district, almost have to shop like the Democrats do to get a real jury that's going to...
I got to roll, but I like your take. I think they're going to be able to do it in D.C. This is WIND Chicago.
Prayers in Texas. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. It's day 7 of the search for everyone missing since flash floods hit central Texas. More than 170 people are reported missing. At least 120 are dead. There's a prayer vigil at a high school football stadium in Kerrville.
As the search continues in Kerr County, Texas, for those still missing from last week's deadly floods, a crowd gathered at Antler Stadium on Wednesday night to remember the more than 120 people who died in the catastrophe. A local youth pastor spoke to those on hand, many wearing green ribbons, the color for Camp Mystic, where at least 27 campers and counselors died.
Our communities were struck with tragedy literally in the darkness, in the middle of the night.
Officials say 5 campers and 1 counselor remain unaccounted for. President Trump plans to visit the state tomorrow. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
Suspensions are announced for 6 Secret Service agents over failures before the Trump assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania last July. The man accused of trying to kill Donald Trump at his golf club in Florida in September, Ryan Ruth, has a federal court hearing today about his request for new public defenders. The president confirms a new tariff on copper imports kicking in August 1st.
The president announced a new 50% tariff on copper imports. He wrote this: I'm announcing a 50% tariff on copper effective August 1st, 2025, after receiving a robust national security assessment. Copper is necessary for semiconductors, aircraft, and even hypersonic weapons, of which we are building many. Copper is the second most used material by the Department of Defense.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich at the White House. 2 people are reported killed, 16 injured in a Russian drone and missile attack hitting Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, overnight. The United Nations reports at least 232 civilians were killed, more than 1,300 wounded in Russian attacks in Ukraine last month. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 70 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Local leaders are blasting federal agents for entering the National Museum of Puerto Rican Arts and Culture in Chicago's Humboldt Park neighborhood. Alderman Anthony Cazada called the presence of the Department of Homeland Security an international scare tactic.
It was meant to send a message to our undocumented neighbors, to our cultural institutions, and to our entire community that they are being watched and that they are not safe.
Museum officials say Department of Homeland Security agents arrived at the museum Tuesday, reportedly refusing to show a badge or identification. Homeland Security responded by saying they held a quick briefing in the museum's parking lot as part of a narcotics investigation. A Chicago woman and 4 teens are accused of attacking a CTA passenger with a knife. The crime happened back on June 21st on a Red Line train. 23-year-old Aaliyah Gist has been charged with aggravated robbery with a dangerous weapon. Meanwhile, the 4 juveniles were also charged with offenses ranges from armed robbery to aggravated battery of a transit employee. A man is accused of using a U.S. Postal Service master key to steal mail on Chicago's Northwest Side. Andrew Trotter was charged with burglary, possession of burglary tools, and possession of a controlled substance. He was arrested last Thursday afternoon. Police say Trotter had a counterfeit key and a black bag containing screwdrivers and 2 Allen wrenches. Trotter also had in his possession acid and meth, along with 31 credit cards and other people's names, of course, and an ID belonging to a CTA employee. He's expected in court sometime today. News is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at almostfreeteeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Your home is a valuable asset, and you want to take care of your home. From roofs, siding, windows, and doors to furnaces, flooring, landscaping, and much more. Listen to your go-to for all things home. It's Home Answers Radio every Sunday morning at 9. Presented by Lang Home Medical Equipment, Valdicass Windows and Doors, and by JeffBuysYourHouse.com. Get answers from industry experts so you can make informed decisions about your home improvement. Right here on AM 560, The Answer.
What we love about our ability to help patients at QC Kinetics is seeing their pure delight at finally being able to do the things they enjoy without pain.
I had a patient start treatment with me. He wanted to be able to be active again and do some of his sports that he really enjoyed.
Dr. Ashley Caravelli, Chicago's medical director for QC Kinetics, treats patients with chronic joint pain using their body's own biologics. The goal? Get them back to living their best lives without surgery or harmful drugs.
He came back and he goes, what I wasn't expecting was the ability to play on the floor with my grandchildren. Even just saying it now, I have goosebumps because it's changing those small moments that you take for granted.
Don't let joint pain rob you of those moments. See if you're a candidate for QC Kinetics regenerative treatments.
It just warms my heart to be able to help people live the life they want to live and get those small moments back.
Weekend appointments available. Call now. 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys. And I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
Hey, it's Sean Thompson here for Level 10 Coating. You've been hearing the ads on AM 560 for months. Listeners love the product. Shiny new garage floors. And here's the thing. If you grow up in Chicago, you know a garage isn't just for parking cars. It's a sanctuary for yourself. Sometimes you could throw a kid's party there. Sometimes you can watch a game with your friends. But it doesn't have to be a cracked, dry, ugly cement floor with all dust on it. It can be a product you love. That's what Level 10 Coating delivers. Level 10 Coatings makes it someplace you'll want to be all the time. Level 10 Coatings, you can call now for a free quote at 855-510-2628. The number again, 855-510-2628. It's not just garage floors either. It's anywhere you want to make the cement feel more than cement at level10coatings.com. That's level, the number 10, coatings.com.
Big or small, we coat them all. Level 10 Coatings, your custom concrete coating solution.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 16 minutes inbound. Outbound, about 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne Interchange, 14 minutes. Outbound, 19 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the old post office, 26 minutes. Outbound, 50 minutes. Got a crash on the right shoulder between Laramie and Des Plaines Avenue. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 27 minutes. Outbound, 18 minutes. On the Dan Ryan, inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange, 13 minutes. Traffic is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be partly sunny with a high of 85. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a chance of a thunderstorm and a low of 70. Tomorrow will bring partly sunny conditions during the day with thunderstorms possible at night. The high will reach 89. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
AM 560, The Answer. Chris Crock in for Dan Proft. He's back tomorrow on Chicago's Morning Answer. Follow me on social media at Chris Crock Show. That's at Chris Crock Show, ChrisKrock on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and then on the other channels that, Rumble, YouTube, etc. At Crock Talk Radio, KROKTALK Radio, at Crock Talk Radio. 312-642-5600 is our number. Now listen, here's what happened. As I prepare for the show, look at a whole bunch of sites nationally, and then I dig deep into Chicago. And there's so many, so much abundant information flying everywhere in a good way. So I'm watching a story. I see a story on Channel 32, Fox 32, WFLD, and I see that, and I said, oh my gosh, Brown's Chicken Massacre. Now, I don't know where you were when the Brown's Chicken Massacre happened, but if you were of anywhere, producer Quinn remembers when he was 13 when it happened. I was about 20 years old, living in Buffalo Grove. So you can imagine I don't say terror or horror, but, the serious concern going, somebody murdered 7 people, took these, the owners, the husband and wife owners, and 5 other employees, ushered them back into the fridge, and shot and killed them, execution style, I believe. And they did not solve this thing for years. And I literally, when I first saw this story yesterday or the day before in the news about this brand new book that was put together and has just been released by Patrick Wohl, author and lawyer originally from Illinois. The book is called Something Big. And that title is very interesting, which we'll get to in a minute. The true story of Brown's Chicken Massacre, a decade-long manhunt and trials that followed. My family and I religiously went to Brown's Chicken. There were so many locations. Apparently, there's only one. Quinn says he thinks there's only one now. That was my next question: is are they still around? But we went to the one on Dundee Road, or as the Indian guy at the 7-Eleven, you take the Dundee over on the Dundee, and by the railroad tracks there in Wheeling, man, Wheeling. So we call it Wheeling. Anyway. But we had many Brown's Chickens nights. But it was kind of terrifying or scary to be like, in Palatine, this happened. Northwest Highway. I remember exactly where it was. Not far from where I grew up in Buffalo Grove. My age 12 to 22 or something like that. Anyway, okay, let's talk to Patrick Wohl, the author of this book, Something Big, The True Story of Brown's Chicken Massacre, a decade-long manhunt and the trials that followed. Patrick, welcome to Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on, my friend. Okay, what made you, now obviously you've been working on the book, I think, for 2-3 years or so. What made you, out of 29, 30 years after the Brown's Chicken Massacre happened, write about this? Again, by the way, brilliant timing, I think. I mean, it's been a long time.
It has been a long time. I mean, it's been more than 30 years, and there's certainly been other things written about this. There's been other podcasts. There's a podcast episode on this almost every month. And what I found is that it's often done by people who get the small things wrong. They pronounce the names of things wrong. They get facts wrong, and they get the big things wrong too. In that they leave out the stories of the people that are impacted. And I always walked away wanting to learn more about who investigated this crime, the police, the crime scene technicians, how it impacted the community, and most importantly, the stories of the victims, which is really just kind of a footnote in the past. And so I try to dive a lot deeper into that. And like you said, yes, it took many years to do this, and I spoke to more than 40 people who were involved, including some of the families, investigators, the attorneys. So try to give people a different perspective on this case, because I think people know it, but there's a lot of people don't know as well.
Yeah. What are these people that have written books or do podcasts? One of the things you mentioned is they're not Chicagoland natives like we are, like you and I are. And so they just don't know. comparatively speaking. What are some of the things that are typically wrong, whether it be small or big, that a lot of these places get? What are the handful of things or a couple things that you're like, these bleepity bleeps are not getting it? They're missing these major or small things that are very important.
Well, the biggest thing is kind of what I alluded to already, that often the victims are just kind of glanced over in a paragraph or two, or they're just mentioned in kind of a cold way in a podcast. So I try to bring their stories to life a lot more. And the first third of the book is really mostly about them. And so a lot of that is based on, conversations with family, or a lot of the documents that came out from the trials in 2007 and 2009. I was very lucky in that two things. A lot of time had passed, so I think people were more willing to speak about it. Obviously, they still live with it if you're impacted or you're close to it. It's just a horrible tragedy you never get over.
Right.
But two, the trials had happened in 2007 and 2009, so I had all of the transcripts. A lot of people testified about, their personal stories too, and so that was particularly helpful in this. And that's kind of the common theme, though, to your question of what people missed. It's those stories. So, for example, there was a first suspect in this case. His name was Martin Blake. He was a guy in the suburbs, a little quirky. He had worked at the restaurant, and he was kind of thumbed as the first suspect in the early hours after this all broke. And he ended up having nothing to do with it. But I talked to him about what it was like to have his name completely drawn through the ringer and put on all the broadcasts and front page of newspapers. And he actually had to leave the States because it ruined his life. So there's all sorts of different unique perspectives to this. And I try to go about it in kind of a much more human way in the past, and do it in a way that is both, interesting for people in Chicago who know this and people who have no connection, but also as not sensational as possible. I try to do it in the most respectful way a true crime book can be.
Patrick Wohl, author and lawyer, the book Something Big, the true story of the Brown's Chicken Massacre, a decade-long manhunt. All right, a couple things. I want to ask you about, at the time, WFLD wrote about this, Channel 32. At the time, the murders were believed to be a botched robbery. Tell me why you don't believe that's true in any way, shape, or form. Because they did get a grand. They did get a grand, and I looked up the value of a grand today, back in '93, and it's like $2,224 of a hit that would be nowadays. They sold.
Yeah, there's a couple reasons why this was a ultimately a thrill kill. That's the title of the book, Something Big. That's the motive or the excuse that the killers gave when they were arrested. They said they wanted to do something big, and it's kind of a chilly and very untidy ending to this, because nobody knows exactly what that means, and they haven't quite explained it. But there's other signs too. I mean, Juan Luna, who was one of the killers, had actually worked at the restaurant and knew some of the people there. He knew one of the
at that actual Brown's Chicken, not just a Brown's Chicken, because Channel 32 didn't specify that in their report. So one of the two murderers, Brown's Chicken Massacre, did work at that location previously.
Yes, so he had worked for, there was a previous owner at that franchise in Palatine, and then he overlapped, I think, for maybe just a couple weeks with the new owners, the Ehlenfelds, who bought the restaurant in Palatine. So he recognized them. He didn't know these people particularly well. They didn't know him well, but it's enough that you would recognize someone. He also knew one of the employees who was a high schooler who had overlapped. And so they didn't go to the restaurant with masks or anything like that. And, you don't go to a place and rob it that's full of people that without masks if you intend to rob it. They also left money there. There was money in the safe, and so yeah, I think the intent, unfortunately, was just kind of a sick thrill kill.
That's insane, because to this day I didn't necessarily know that. And when I saw you wrote this book about the Brown's Chicken Massacre from 32 years ago, I could not remember, were they convicted, were they caught? I couldn't remember. It's been so long, right? And then once I read this article, it flashed back to me that the girlfriend of, it was James Degorski or Juan Luna that used to work at that location before they murdered the seven.
It was Juan Luna. So they both went to Friend High School. They've grown up in the area,
and that blows me away because I went to Wheeling High School. I mean, so these are competitor schools. Friend and some of the victims went to Palatine. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's really one of the sad parts of this is that when they were caught, I mean, people realized that these were people in their community. One of the things that usually happens in a mass murder like this, or someone who commits horrible acts, or a serial killers, usually they act again, or they do something else.
Right.
And these guys had pretty clean records after this. They didn't really get in trouble with the law. Luna had a family, had a child, pretty normal life. They were, by all accounts, just normal guys in the suburbs. And so I think that really shocked people to know that these were two guys who went to the same schools and the same stores and churches and grew up in the area.
Patrick Wohl, the book is Something Big, the true story of the Brown's Chicken Massacre, a decade-long manhunt and trials that followed. Wanted to also ask you about this. There was genuine fear. It was Ann Lockett, Degorski's girlfriend, who turned him in, 9 years later? You can correct me on that in a sec. So she lived in fear. Apparently, they had threatened her, or he had threatened her, but he wasn't living with her for the whole 10 years or anything, was he? I mean, where was he compared to where she was at? I mean, how could you let somebody keep you from turning in murderers for that long, especially if you're not living with the guy?
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. Obviously, she waited too long. There's no question of that, and that caused a lot of pain and suffering for people for an unnecessary amount of time. I think what people read in the book is that there was genuine fear there. I mean, they had threatened to kill her. They kept tabs on her over the years, calling, checking in with her and family, and so that I think is the basis for that. Obviously, no excuse for not coming forward earlier, but it's a sad part of this, but it's also interesting. One of the sisters of the victims told me, at the end of the day, it kind of worked out the way it was supposed to, because if she had come forward early, she was a very imperfect person to come forward. She had all sorts of drug problems and was in a facility recovering with mental health issues. And at that time, she'd been fired from jobs. And so it would have been her word against that of two guys who really didn't have much of a record. And at that time, the police didn't have DNA to connect them to the scene.
That's it. Go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off. They didn't have DNA. But let me interject, I guess, because what's crazy is, I love how you all this stuff is so fascinating. You point out that that evidence tech, which my dad used to be an evidence tech many decades ago with Chicago police, and another in patrol and stuff. But in this case, they got the DNA. There was no DNA technology, comparatively speaking, in '93. They got a chicken bone from the wastebasket, for the garbage. And then, years later, they tested for DNA, and they matched it to him based on his ex-girlfriend, whatever you want to call her, turning him in 2002 or 2003. My question is, weren't there 1,000 chicken bones in the garbage? How did they know it was this one?
Well, it's a great question. They'd been cleaning up that night, so everything was empty. The garbage cans were empty, and this was the only thing there. It was a 4-piece chicken meal. There were a few other things in there, like a little coffee stir, some French fries, but this was the only thing there. So that's how they could connect it to the two men. But you're right. It was the confessions compounded with the DNA evidence that really brought it home. And in speaking with, I spoke to one of the jurors on the Luna trial in 2007.
Oh, wow.
She told me that confessions were really the thing that brought it home for people and really connected the dots.
You mean these two guys confessed to the Brown's Chicken murders?
They did, yes. So one, they later kind of recanted on that and said that it was a forced confession, or they didn't mean to. In my view, there's no merit to that. There had been not forced confessions, but there had been false confessions, in this case, 2, kind of 3. And it's a complicated story about why that happened, but I talked to one woman who actually confessed to it, and police they knew it wasn't real. They let her go after, but she had been connected to the restaurant. She'd been scheduled to work that night. She was having dreams. And so, after a long interrogation, it just sort of just got mixed up in that. But it just goes to show you there were so many twists and turns in this case. And a lot of criticism of the police, too, which I think was unfounded in the end.
That's where I wanted to get hit. Why should the Palatine police at the time not have been criticized, in your opinion?
Well, it's not that they shouldn't have been criticized. You're free to criticize any department in a high stakes investigation, and I think it's the level and the kind of criticism that they got. I mean, the main thing people say is, oh, they were protective of this investigation, they weren't prepared for it, and the investigators I talked to are people involved with the task force that was formed. Nobody would really argue that. I mean, they brought in all of the help they could have possibly wanted from the FBI and profilers and DNA evidence experts, suburban police, and some of Chicago's most experienced homicide detectives. And the fact of the matter is that it wasn't going to be solved no matter what they did until someone came forward in the way that they did. So I think they did the best they could, and I think that the media attention to this really took the criticism to a level that I think was unfair. And there was a Better Government Association report on this, which got tons of attention at the time, criticizing them. And when you look back at it, it's totally unfounded. It's full of personal attacks. There's no really credibility to it. And so I think that's the beauty of hindsight, is you can kind of look at back and see that now.
Two things I wanted to ask you before we close out our time together, which I've really enjoyed, Patrick. The two convicted murderers, James Degorski, Juan Luna from the Brown's Chicken Massacre, they're serving life sentences. Two things. Why didn't they get death? I know nowadays a lot of the people that run the state of Illinois don't want any death penalty for anybody, no matter what. But they had the death penalty there. Why did these two murderers not get the death penalty? And I see they have life sentences, but is there any chance for them getting out at any time?
No, I don't think there's any chance of them getting out. I mean, there's been so much attention on this. There's been, I would be shocked if something new came out or anything like that. And that's not something people should expect in the book, like a new take on who did it or anything. It's very clearly these two men. Luna has kind of, I think, he's sort of not really appealed. There's kind of stronger evidence against him because they have the DNA. But Degorski has tried a couple different post-conviction appeals, and nothing has stuck. And I think one thing that's important to emphasize too is either one of the reasons sometimes these cases get overturned is, or convictions get overturned is, if people had a bad defense or there was some mistake, they had the best possible defense you could get. And, that's important in the end because it means that it's going to stick because they made their case and so did the prosecution. And
why didn't they get death? Why didn't they get death?
Yeah, I was fascinated by that question because when I spoke to prosecutors and who, ultimately made the decision to go for the death penalty, their view was, we have this punishment in Illinois, at least then. If not for this, then what? And so they made that case. And for the first trial of Luna in 2007, there was one juror who held out. And I talked about the discussion that they had in the book, just about the evidence. And ultimately, she just wouldn't budge on it. Had an opposition to the death penalty, and so. She said no. It was less close in the second trial. There were, I think, 2 or 3 holdouts in the end. So that was
their compromise
they made. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And no chance for parole at all. And that's kind of that, huh?
Yes, correct.
Right.
No, but barring some extreme changes, I doubt that. No, they're in there.
Patrick Wool, author, lawyer, and the book is called Something Big. Well done on this book, by the way. Something Big, the true story. You're welcome. Thank you. The true story of the Browns Chicken Massacre, a decade-long manhunt, and the trials that followed. I think it's going to be a fantastic read. And Patrick, thank you very much for joining us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Thanks for having me, Chris. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You too. All right, coming up next, it's Chris and Verdan, of course. A vile cartoon mocking the Trump supporters with the Texas floods. That is coming up next on the Chicago's Morning Answer. Chris in for Dan. Time for news.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I'm worried about Mom. She's having a tough time moving around the house.
Oh, I know. She still thinks she can do everything on her own.
Exactly, but I've been over there every day this week, helping her navigate the stairs, cooking meals, reminding her to take her medicine. I'm always nervous when I leave.
You know what? I admire you for taking care of Mom. But your family needs you too. And what if she slips and falls? A friend recommended the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. They service Cook, DuPage, Kane, and Will counties. They guarantee compatibility and they'll conduct a free safety assessment of her home. Plus, they'll provide as little or as much care as Mom needs.
Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, offering both hourly and live-in care. Schedule a free assessment today by calling 331-281-0728. That's 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
If you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
I'm an artist and I'm in my studio. I listen to the radio all day and I'm hearing the ads about Relief Factor. And I've got pain in my neck and it's getting worse. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to go ahead and order this. 2 weeks later, I've got much better range of motion. If you're experiencing pain at a certain point in life, I would get Relief Factor.
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to relieffactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aid.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Hey, heard you're getting ready to move.
We just listed our house on the market.
Just make sure you have the right attorney.
Doesn't the real estate agent take care of all that?
They stay involved, but you want to make sure you have a great lawyer that's negotiating the terms, helping resolve inspection items, clearing up title issues, preparing the deed and other documents, and attending the closing.
The attorneys at Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village have decades of experience handling real estate transactions every day all over Chicagoland. NALawGroup.com.
AM 560. The
Answer. Chicago's Morning Answer. Chris Crock filling in for Dan Proft. He's back tomorrow. Coming up next, we're going to talk to the author of a piece on the National Guard, how they've defended our borders for well over, 60, 80, 100 years. So we'll hear about that coming up next, and we'll talk about that vile political cartoon, mocking the dead victims of the Texas floods who may have voted for Trump. All that's next. Right now it's time for news with Nikki Whaley.
Good morning. It's 70 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer Newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Pope Leo is once again offering to host peace talks between Russia and Ukraine at the Vatican.
He met with Ukrainian President Zelensky in Italy Wednesday. The Vatican said the pontiff and the Ukrainian leader discussed the importance of dialogue as the preferred means of ending hostilities. The Pope also expressed his sorrow for the victims of the war and renewed his prayers and closeness to the Ukrainian people. Russia has previously rejected the Pope's offer to host negotiations. I'm Mark Mayfield.
White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles says that President Trump and tech billionaire Elon Musk had a great thing until their troublesome ending.
Trump and Musk engaged in a public feud last month after the billionaire left his role at the White House and blasted the Republican-backed mega bill recently signed into law by the president. Wiles was asked how she would describe the relationship and expressed that she didn't understand what went wrong between them. I'm Brian Shook.
News is the service of almostfreeteeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at almostfreeteeth.com. Making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Mike Gallagher says it's time to get on board.
Be unified. Knock it off with the sideline nitpicking and complaining if you're on Team Trump. Because being on Team Trump means you're on Team USA. Being on Team USA benefits all Americans. Republicans, Democrats, independents. Things are getting better by the day.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Charlie Kirk at 11 on AM 560. The Answer. Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere, delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Samsung TV Plus, channel 1177.
My friend Paula just remodeled her kitchen. I feel bad. It's so bland.
Yeah. Everyone's using the same templated designs these days or just refacing cabinets.
Let's check out Forever Remodeling. They do full and custom kitchen remodels from the ground up, just for us.
It'd be nice to have a kitchen that's truly ours.
Exactly.
Don't get the same kitchen design as everyone else. Visit Forever Remodeling today at foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com. And tell them AM 560 sent you.
Virago is fending off viruses and making America healthy again.
Hi, my name is Dr. Michael Huber. I'm one of the co-founders of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. Here are some of the testimonials of Virago users.
Hello, my name is Jim Thompson. I started taking Virago about 1.5 years ago. I was diagnosed with a heart condition, and in fact, I was at the Cleveland Clinic applying for one of their trials. The bad news is that I was not accepted for the trial. The good news is that my heart was healthier than they wanted, and I believe that's a result of taking Virago. I can also attest that I have not had the flu or COVID since I started taking Virago. I can definitely attest to my satisfaction with staying healthy by taking Virago every day.
Boost your immune system with Virago. Order your bottle today. Visit myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com.
And use promo code IMMUNE to get 30% off.
That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Virago and Maha, making America healthy again.
Is cremation an option you're considering for you or your loved one? At Catholic cemeteries, we offer sacred, permanent places of rest where loved ones can be remembered, prayed for, and visited for generations. Too often, cremated remains are brought home, only to end up in closets, basements, or forgotten on shelves. Memorialization is forever. Honor their life. Preserve your legacy. Visit us today at CatholicCemeteryChicago.org to schedule a free consultation or call 708-236-5490.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 16 minutes inbound. Outbound, about 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 14 minutes. Outbound, 19 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 26 minutes. Outbound, 50 minutes. Got a crash on the right shoulder between Laramie and Des Plaines Avenue. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 27 minutes. Outbound, 18 minutes. This report is sponsored by Blindster.com. Looking for affordable blinds, shades, or shutters for your home? Don't hire an expensive pro. Check out Blindster.com, where they offer custom-made window coverings at guaranteed low prices with a team of pros ready to help you every step of the way. Blindster.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be partly sunny with a high of 85. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a chance of a thunderstorm and a low of 70. Tomorrow, anticipate partly sunny conditions during the day with thunderstorms possible at night. The high will reach 89. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
AM 560, The Answer. Chris Crock filling in on Chicago's Morning Answer. Dan is back tomorrow. 312-642-5600 is our number. This is a good column written by Eamon Blair. Eamon is the senior fellow at the Texas Public Policy Foundation. And Eamon, welcome to the show. You wrote this article, "The National Guard has defended our borders before." You're in Texas then, huh, or no?
Yes, sir. I'm in Texas. Thank you for having me.
Where you at? I'm in Dallas, even though I'm a Chicago born and raised guy. Where are you at?
Okay. Yeah, I actually live in McAllen. I live right on the border.
Oh, wow. McAllen, that's way down there in the RGV, Rio Grande Valley. Very cool. Very cool. So you would be very familiar, not only with your piece you wrote, the National Guard has defended our borders before, and you can see it yourself in person. So what was the impetus for this piece? Is it that Trump is deploying National Guardsmen, whether at the border or in our cities, to buttress our ICE folk and Border Patrol folk, and how this has been going on for a long time? Is that kind of the genesis for this?
Yeah, 100%. I wrote an actual large academic research paper in regards to the militia and the National Guard and their purpose, all the way from the founding of our nation. And I did this to dispel any myths on how we can actually utilize the National Guard. We're going to have to continue to do so, given everything that you're seeing in L.A., all the riots, all the attacks on law enforcement. Unfortunately, we're going to have to utilize our National Guard to protect our law enforcement. So there are cries from those on the left and even some on the right that the National Guard are being misused or that they're legally not allowed to do so. And so I wrote that piece to show that, hey, we sent over 100,000 National Guard at our border when Pancho Villa was coming in and invading into the U.S. And so this is not unprecedented.
So that was with Woodrow Wilson, 1916. So we're looking at 109 years ago. The National Guard was called in to the southern border. 110,000 people, National Guardsmen. And Trump has pulled in so far, what, 20,000?
Yeah, not even close to the numbers that were pulled in. And the threats today are much greater. I mean, not only do you have Mexican cartels that have created a pipeline into every one of our communities, but because of that, every one of our adversaries has now created a relationship with the cartels to get access to us, whether that's going to be the CCP or Iran and their proxies, you name it. And so the threats we face today are much greater, and now they're colluding with those on the streets, whether that's going to be Antifa or the anarchists and communists in the streets attacking our law enforcement.
Eamon, you also write about President Dwight D. Eisenhower with using the National Guard. Tell me about that, and also, are there any other examples in our history of our country with mass amounts of National Guardsmen brought out to protect our sovereignty?
Yeah, sure. So during that time period, look, the Department of the War Department was actually in charge of the border, and we had roughly around 20,000 Army soldiers along the border, and that still was not enough. And so that's why he had to call in the National Guard to come in, and it was a precursor to World War I. So they were able to utilize that to not only secure the border, but actually prepare themselves for World War I. Fast forward to World War II. During that time period, actually the state guards or the state defense forces were actually larger than the National Guard. So in Texas, our state defense force, now called the Texas State Guard, was actually larger than the National Guard, and that was to protect Texas from the threats of invasion during World War II.
Interesting.
And if you look at the only organization now that is kind of set up in the same way to protect their own state is actually Florida. Florida reestablished their state guard, and they did so outside of the purview of the Florida Military Department. So that way the governor has direct control, kind of like how President Trump has direct control over SOCOM.
Mm-hmm.
Same concept. So there's hardly any bureaucracy. And then they created special mission units in Florida. One specifically, the special mission unit there is all former SOCOM members, whether that's Navy SEALs, Green Berets, Rangers, MARSOC, you name it. And so Florida has taken that model from World War II and has now applied it into their own state.
But it's bad now because Orange Man is the president. If it was former President Hussein Obama or Biden, no problem. No problem, right? Put them in cages, deport millions of them, no problem. All right, now, the guardsmen right now that are protecting our border and working with, for example, in Florida, you mentioned at Alligator Alcatraz, guardsmen have been deputized, if you will, to do hearings. They're doing the hearings for the illegals instead of immigration judges, right?
Yeah. Yes. So they are now force multipliers to do immigration hearings. And that's the whole reason why I laid out that article to show the capabilities and the capacities of the National Guard that have completely been underutilized. And really the only people that are utilizing them now to their full capacity is Florida. Even Texas, we're far behind what Florida's doing. Interesting.
Okay, so are the guardsmen, particularly the ones working with our HSI, ICE, Border Patrol, are they allowed to fire shots? And are they allowed to enforce the laws? And, like, for example, also in L.A., what can they do and what can't they do?
Yeah, they're force multipliers with the law enforcement, so they can go. And many people say that due to posse comitatus laws, they're not allowed to do law enforcement. But if you look back, the posse comitatus laws were built to protect southern states and from trying to continue on their slavery. And so now today they're trying to utilize that, saying that the National Guard cannot help law enforcement when it comes to detaining those that are attacking them, to also going with whether that's simulation rounds or actually once firing upon them as well. And so that's again why I wrote that article, to show that, hey, the National Guard 100% can assist law enforcement in these riots, can assist at the border, can assist in immigration enforcement. They are 100% a force multiplier, and the militia that was created in the very beginning of this nation.
How is it helping overall the guardsmen being deployed, working with our ICE and Border Patrol? So how is it helping, and how big of a deal is it making?
Yeah, so on the border from California to El Paso, U.S. Northcom has now taken that over from the Department of the Interior. And so U.S. Northcom is on their way to obtain a 100% operational control of that and seal the border. However, it's much more difficult in Texas, since Texas's border is about 95% private property. And so he's going to have to rely a lot more on state, local, and the Texas National Guard to do that here. Now, in the interior, like in L.A., they're there to block and protect the law enforcement so that the law enforcement can actually do their job and not have to try to protect themselves from our own citizens while doing their job. So that's what they're there for. And then in Florida, what they're utilized for is transportation. So that way there's not so much cost and in terms of time, personnel, and efforts on local law enforcement and the state law enforcement conducting immigration enforcement in Florida. They created a transportation program with the Florida National Guard and State Guard to transport illegal aliens from the jails all the way to the detention centers.
Interesting.
And so, yeah, so not just are they utilized to be immigration judges, in Florida, but they're also utilized for protection and then transportation. So it's a whole of government approach in terms of immigration enforcement that the National Guard have been utilized either by Trump, like in California, or by Governor DeSantis in Florida.
Eamon Blair, senior fellow at the Texas Public Policy Foundation, and this new column you came out with is the National Peace. Is the National Guard has defended our borders before. One more thing I wanted to ask you about is this cartoon depiction of a Trump supporter by this political cartoonist who works with the Buffalo newspaper and has won Pulitzers in the past, or at least one. It shows a guy with a MAGA hat on, almost drowning and holding up a sign that says "Help," and there's a speech bubble of what he's saying, and above it says "Government is the problem, not the solution," and at the top of the cartoon it reads "Swept away." What was your reaction to this, and how do you think this is going to play out? Do you think this is going to be something huge with this guy and they're going to nail him, or is it going to just pass because, well, he's mocking Trump supporters who are dead or barely came out alive?
Yeah, it's really sad that they're politicizing what's happening here in Texas, and they're making it all about Trump supporters. If you come here to Texas and you go to Central Texas, it is hell on earth. The amount of death and carnage, children dead, and to politicize that, that guy should be 100% probably prosecuted, lose his job for inciting more violence. Look, all the public officials that are inciting violence on ICE right now and our law enforcement should also be held accountable. They are 100% supporting domestic terrorists attacking our law enforcement. However, if nothing happens, to him, the cartoonist, if nothing happens to the public officials, then this is just going to continue on, and it's going to actually grow, and it's not going to decrease.
Have you actually been able to get to go to the area there in by the Guadalupe River in Kerr County since all this happened, or anywhere near there, or just from you've seen from your perch, or was it seeing from your perch in South Texas, the Rio Grande Valley?
Yeah, so Texas Public Policy Foundation is actually going out there tomorrow. Our whole company is going to be going out there to assist. I also have former team members that are currently out there. They've been out there since day one, day hour, and that's going to be Doc Pete Chambers, former Green Beret. He's been out there. A good friend of mine also, Jason Jones. So
I know Jason Jones. I know Jason. He's a good friend of mine too. He's been on my show lots. He is awesome. Former head of counterintelligence and counterterrorism for the border and border operations. Former captain with DPS, and now Newsmax border correspondent. So yeah, so keep going with what you were saying. I know Jason very very well.
Yeah, so I've been coordinating with them in terms of intelligence mapping, everything else that I can away from there as I'm having to do other work items. But like I said,
have you heard from some of these? Have you heard from some of these guys who've been there yet? Talked to any of them? Yeah,
I talk to them on the hour, every day.
What are they telling you? What are they telling you they're seeing in person there at the river with the tragedy there in Central Texas in the Hill Country?
Really, unfortunately, because it's whole families died, and so the numbers are going to continue to climb because there's no way, like all the missing persons, that missing persons number is going to go up. Because they can't declare themselves missing if all of them are dead. And so right now they're working with canines. The mule team has shown up from the East Coast. All these efforts from, whether that's from Texas Special SAR, whether that's also Team Rubicon, the United Cajun Navy. I'm going to tell you what, the United Cajun Navy has always been at the forefront of disaster response. They were there when I was the National Guard liaison for Hurricane Harvey. They were there for Hurricane Helene. This nonprofit organization is leading the way in terms of how things should do without bureaucracy and red tape. They've brought out their chaplains, and the chaplain is not only going out there to assist family units that have lost children, wives, husbands, and family members, but they're out there also to support law enforcement. When you see death and carnage constantly, this is also a time where suicide rates for law enforcement to dealing these issues. And so the United Cajun Navy has brought their chaplains as well to go and talk to the people there in Central Texas.
You know, Eamon Blair, I'm looking at the latest from this morning, and you and I know that the numbers are changing always. But right now I see 119 dead at least, and that 176 are missing. My crude back of the napkin math, because I mean radio actually is brain surgery, but that's why I can't do math while I'm doing radio. But 295 dead is what it could end up being.
Yeah, minimum. I mean,
what are you hearing? What are you hearing? What do you think it could climb to? Just, I mean, from what you know.
Over 300. Yeah, it's going to probably be over 300. Like I said, as Doc Pete Chambers, his special operations crew out there, all the guys from the Texas National Guard, game wardens, all these search and rescue teams are finding full families that never got the word out. And so that number is probably going to climb, unfortunately.
Really quick, like 20 seconds or so, but my full take on this is the local authorities, the Kerr County Sheriff's Department, the Kerr County Judge, who's the EMA in charge, he's the most powerful politician in the counties in Texas. You know that. I know that. The county judge.
Yep.
I blame them. The sheriff didn't even know about it until people were calling 911, alerting him and asking him for help at like between 3 and 4 in the morning, I think it was. And I also blame the private camps for where these went down. There was a camp 7 miles away from where Camp Mystic was, and one of their employees noticed the river rising and got everybody out like well before it happened. So to me, it's the camps and the local government there. Is that what you're seeing so far?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's why Governor Abbott yesterday declared the items for the special session.
Yes.
And 4 of those items are disaster response.
Yes.
And in fact, we assisted Representative Hopper on House Bill 4914 to reconstitute the Texas State Guard, so things like this wouldn't happen. It was built off of the Florida model, where the Texas State Guard would be able to not just react, but act prior to the event actually happening, stage themselves so all this would not be. They would be the premier state defense force, just like what Florida is building now. We tried getting that passed in the House and also the 89th legislature. And so we're going to be working in this special session to try to get that done, and so that the disaster and the catastrophe that happened in Central Texas doesn't happen again.
Eamon Blair, I really appreciate talking to you today on Chicago's Morning Answer, Senior Fellow at the Texas Public Policy Foundation. Thank you very much. The column is entitled "The National Guard Has Defended Our Borders Before" in the Washington Examiner. I appreciate you very much for coming on.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Some wild and scary and serious stuff on there, but thank God for our Guard as well. All right, coming up next, we got something coming up at 8 o'clock. We're going to talk to Lauren Green, a congressional reporter at the Washington Examiner, on Congress breaking 4 records in just 6 months after arriving in Washington. That is coming up at 8, and much more coming up next. I'll give you the special session items. I'll tell you what Governor Greg Abbott put on in light of this horrible tragedy in Central Texas. This is Chris Crock for Dan Proft, AM 560, The Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster.
People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Right installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you, and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. News, opinion, insight. This is AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
Losing patience with Putin. I'm Chris Foster. Fox News. As President Trump expresses frustration with Russia's President Putin for continued attacks on Ukraine, and there have been more today. Secretary of State Marco Rubio meets with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov for what he calls a frank and important conversation.
The president's been pretty clear. He's disappointed and frustrated that there's not been more flexibility on the Russian side to bring about an end to this conflict. And we hope that can change.
Rubio and Lavrov met in person for about 50 minutes on the sidelines of an Asia summit in Malaysia. Brazil's President Lula calls an emergency cabinet meeting to discuss a possible response to President Trump announcing 50% tariffs on Brazilian imports. It's a hot, humid, but not rainy day for crews in central Texas searching flood debris for a seventh day. At least 120 people are dead, more than 170 reported missing.
Kerr County doesn't have warning signs after years of trying and failing to install them because of funding issues. They do have Code Red. It's a system that sends emergency alerts to phones, but residents have to sign up for it. A firefighter called dispatch asking for a red alert, but it took nearly 6 hours for the county to actually send it. By then, the Guadalupe River had already risen 26 feet in just 45 minutes.
Fox's Brooke Taylor. 27 trapped construction workers and 4 others who rushed in to help them are safe in Los Angeles.
The workers were trapped after a tunnel in a large industrial complex collapsed. According to preliminary reports, the workers were rescued after having to climb over a large pile of dirt. They were then shuttled by a tunnel vehicle to an access point more than 5 miles away. 8 workers at a time were hoisted to safety in a cage. The LA Fire Department says the workers were evaluated by paramedics at the scene, but appeared to have no visible injuries.
Fox's Chanley Painter. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 73 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. The Chicago Teachers Union is calling on the state to provide more funding to Chicago public schools. CTU Vice President Jackson Potter says state funding is needed to help fill CPS's $734 million budget deficit.
We are here today calling on Governor J.B. Pritzker to immediately schedule an emergency session in Springfield, Illinois, to address the needs of our people.
Union officials believe CPS is owed $1.2 billion by the state. The demand for funds comes after the Trump administration recently notified states it's withholding more than $6 billion in federal education grants for schools. In Chicago, officials are suing the Trump administration over the crackdown on sanctuary cities. The lawsuit opposes the DOJ and Homeland Security for withholding funds from Chicago and other cities with sanctuary immigration policies. Mayor Johnson's Corporation Counsel, Mary Robinson Lowry, released a statement saying that federal funding should never be used as a tool to coerce local authorities into compliance with unlawful mandates. The Trump administration previously sued the city and state, saying their immigration policies block federal enforcement efforts. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the Signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Delta Airlines is holding up better than it was predicting back in April, but still not at the pace it forecast at the start of the year. Economic uncertainty is keeping some people from booking flights. Its spring quarter earnings top forecast, CEO Ed Bastian says the second half of the year could pick up as questions around global trade get worked out. Costco's sales jumped 8% in June. Costco's monthly numbers included July 4th, which means the holiday included shopping for Father's Day, Juneteenth, and Independence Day. Ford is recalling 850,000 vehicles from the 2021 to 23 model years because of a fuel system issue. There are 28 different models involved in the recall. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jimmy Coselda. Invested in you.
Larry Elder. The Larry Elder Show.
Dow Jones, S&P, NASDAQ, all three major indices hitting record highs. The hopeful passage of the big, beautiful bill, lower regulations, inflation has been tamed. I don't know. It just doesn't sound to me like we're on the verge of a recession, let alone a depression, which some people have predicted.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
What we love about our ability to help patients at QC Kinetics is seeing their pure delight at finally being able to do the things they enjoy without pain.
I had a patient start treatment with me. He wanted to be able to be active again and do some of his sports that he really enjoyed.
Dr. Ashley Caravelli, Chicago's medical director for QC Kinetics, treats patients with chronic joint pain using their body's own biologics. The goal? Get them back to living their best lives without surgery or harmful drugs.
He came back and he goes, what I wasn't expecting was the ability to play on the floor with my grandchildren. Even just saying it now, I have goosebumps because it's changing those small moments that you take for granted.
Don't let joint pain rob you of those moments. See if you're a candidate for QC Kinetics regenerative treatments.
It just warms my heart to be able to help people live the life they want to live and get those small moments back.
Weekend appointments available. Call now. 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys. And I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something. Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys. And I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month. But What I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
They took everything. Our equipment, our supplies, it's all gone.
It's devastating. Every order is going to be delayed for months, and our customers are going to find someone else.
I don't know if we'll ever recover from this. We're already getting calls from clients checking on their orders.
Who knows how long it will take to get back on our feet? What were we thinking not upgrading our security?
Don't let a break-in devastate your business. Protect yourself with Goldilocks. They'll create a customized security solution for you. From commercial doors with keyless entry to 24/7 alarm monitoring, they have you covered. Learn more at GoldilocksInc.com and have a security technician conduct an on-site assessment of your business. Plus, AM 560 listeners get their first 3 months of monitoring free with a new install. Call Goldilocks now. 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Goldilocks, Chicagoland's premier locksmith doors and security systems company since 1981.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 16 minutes, outbound 15 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 28 minutes, outbound about 28 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 35 minutes, outbound 27 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 32 minutes, outbound is about 23 minutes. Traffic is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be partly sunny with a high of 85. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a chance of a thunderstorm and a low of 70. Tomorrow will bring partly sunny conditions during the day with thunderstorms possible at night. The high will reach 89. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
AM 560, The Answer. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Chris Crock filling in for Dan Proft. He's back tomorrow. I get to be with you a few more dates later this month. I love hanging out with you in my hometown, born and raised in Chicago and the suburbs. Meantime, we're going to talk right now to Lauren Green. She is a congressional reporter for the Washington Examiner. She wrote a piece, Congress Breaks 4 Records in Just 6 Months. Lauren, thanks for joining us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Well, one of the things you write about here, the Democrats are trying to draw attention to their resistance and help with fundraising efforts. Is all of what they're doing, all these stunts, kabuki theater?
I actually talked about this yesterday with somebody, and I mean, obviously, whenever any party has a trifecta, I think that the minority party does have to fight a little bit harder and scream a little bit louder to get their message out there and to make sure that their base doesn't feel neglected, regardless of which party that is. I mean, obviously, we're seeing a lot of clips from these, and with the rise of social media, it probably feels like we're seeing it a lot more, and that it can sometimes come across as ingenuine because social media and clips like that do come across as ingenuine. But when the Big Beautiful Bill did pass, I was on the House floor, or not on the House floor, I was in the gallery as the members were on the House floor. And it was really interesting to watch because if you're familiar with the House floor, the cameras there can't show like individual members or move around. It kind of has a set view. So if you're ever watching videos from the House floor, you only get one view, which I think it narrows the scope. And typically on the last vote of the week, these members are running out of there with suitcases. They have jeans on. They're not in their typical suit, and they're just ready to get home. But after this vote took place, I kind of noticed for one of the first times that, I mean, obviously all the Republicans stayed on the floor to celebrate their massive success in passing the big, beautiful bill. But a big amount of Democrats stayed on the floor to watch it pass and kind of broke down and were emotional. And whenever I saw that, it changed my perspective a little bit on the messaging of the bill. And I think that, I mean, obviously messaging is politics, and there are some disgenuine traits about it. But I do think that the Democrats in general are very emotional about this bill, even whenever it is not on camera.
One of the things you write about, too, or the quotation in here, is from a Democrat strategist. They want to see enthusiasm. The Democrat voters with these, with their leaders, so-called leaders, they want to see enthusiasm, so booms in fundraising, a lot of social media impressions, and an enthusiastic base. Are they basically, they're doing some of these antics and stunts or whatever they cannot win, was your point. They cannot win, the Democrats, and they know they can't because they don't have the majority. And so instead, they're doing all this wild stuff and over-the-top stuff to get people enthused, to get money, donations, and as you mentioned, social media impressions. Are they poisoning their own minds of their own folks in their party by going apoplectic in an effort to try to get these things?
I mean, I guess we'll really have to see whenever the midterms come down to it. I do think that a big issue whenever the midterms are coming around after a presidential loss is getting the base excited again, and I think that that's what they're doing. I think we'll have to see in the midterms if the way that they're doing that actually works. I know that obviously whenever Cory Booker broke the floor speech record, he got millions upon millions of views. I saw it all across my social media. I saw it from people outside of D.C., which I feel like a lot of times floor activity does not reach people outside of D.C. So, we saw how far that reached. His Q2 funding hasn't come out yet. I think that his Q2 funding will be a really large indicator of how well that worked for his campaign moving forward. But I also do think that there are definitely some ethics concerns in the Senate whenever it does come to raising money off of official floor activity. I know that there's a barrier there just between raising money and official activity. So I think that there will be an ethics report done there. So we'll see more once that ethics report comes out and whenever his Q2 funding comes back.
So you said that Cory Booker, got tons of followers and donations, all this kind of stuff, it appears, for his 5-hour and 4-minute speech. All those views, though, they weren't watching the 25 hours, were they?
No, definitely not. Honestly, I did write a story, though, and I was watching his live. I think that he had it live, Senate Democrats had it live. And on every live, there were millions of viewers at all times, which,
that's crazy.
I watched the House,
and that was boring.
Very closely.
That was like watching paint dry, wasn't it?
Very closely, and there are never that many viewers. There's maybe 300-400 viewers at a time, but for there to be millions, I think that for a lot of the time it did reach a pretty large audience.
But it was boring. It was like watching paint dry, wasn't it? I mean, right? Let me ask you this.
Yeah, I could never talk about a subject for 25 hours.
I might be able to give folks a run for their money since I'm a talk show host, but let me ask you this though too. To me, there was no way, and there was a look on his face at one point during his 25-hour speech, and a pause, and I swear to you, the man had to be wearing diapers because you cannot go 5 hours straight without a bathroom break.
No, we were wondering that whole time. His team, and he didn't tell any reporters or anyone any of his tactics leading up to it. He came out and talked to reporters after. He said he had stopped drinking water something like 24 or 36 hours before to ensure that he didn't have to go to the bathroom, which is wild. I don't know how you could do a stunt like that without food or water.
Right.
But yeah.
Let me say this. Let me say this. My Native American name in my family on road trips is Man of Small Bladder. All right, I can't go more than 2 hours if I'm lucky, and then I throw other people under the bus. Oh, you got to go, don't you? No, yes you do. Whatever. So there's absolutely no, and even when I do my road trip planning, like the night before the day, I'll drink very little of anything so I can go farther, but it still doesn't make a difference. So you guys weren't buying it either, that he somehow didn't, wear some undergarments to go to the bathroom while he was doing his 25-hour speech.
I have no idea. I mean, we were wondering it about Hakeem Jeffries too last week. We were like, this man has got to go to the bathroom soon. As we were waiting, we had just pulled an all-nighter, and so he started it around 4:50 in the morning, and we were up there, and we were like, we thought it would go for like a little bit over an hour, and then he just kept talking and talking, and we were like, we're tired. He has to go to the bathroom. We gotta wrap this up now.
I bet you it made you, everybody else around there, the what do they call it? The what's that effect where it rubs off on everybody? I bet you everybody else had to go to the bathroom more because they right sympathy bathroom breaks. I have one more question I want to get into with you on this. And by the way, talking to Lauren Green, congressional reporter for the Washington Examiner, her column, Congress breaks 4 records in just 6 months. For the Republicans, you write, the record breakers are merely delay tactics and have not done much of anything to stop passage of their agenda, including the big, beautiful bill. So all these efforts have got them nothing at all? Is that accurate, other than the followers and donations and such?
Yeah, I mean, that's typically how these magic minutes go, which is what Jeffries did. Cory Booker's was not technically a filibuster, but it's just tactics used to delay the floor. I mean, it's used on both sides. We saw it with the former Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, for Biden's reconciliation bill, the Build Back Better Act. He talked for 8 hours and 30 minutes as well, and Jeffries talked for a little bit longer than that. So I think it's mainly just to pull clips for social media now. It's used as a way, it is used as a way to campaign, regardless of if there is barriers between official business and campaign business. But it's definitely just a way to rile up the base and get their message out there before the passage of the bill.
Lauren Green, congressional reporter at the Washington Examiner, thank you very much for your time this morning. We appreciate you for joining us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
All right. Well, and I want to let you know that coming up at 8:38, we're going to talk to Scott McKay, who is a senior editor at the American Spectator, among many other things. We'll talk about Brennan Comey, and we're going to talk about Epstein. And, quote, the Epstein mess was always going to end this way, is his column. We'll get into that with him at 8:38. But in the meantime, I got a bunch of shorter things that I want to get into big time that have been on my docket to get into either yesterday or today, filling in for Dan Proft. Couple things. First of all, 2 top malls out of the top 10 malls, according to USA Today, 2 of the top 10 are in Chicago. Think about which ones they are. I'm going to tell you coming up next which ones they are, and I have some takes on this, big-time takes. Second of all, Vienna beef, the absolute diehard staple of our lives as Chicagoan, is Vienna beef. NBC5 doing a story about this and interviewing the folks at Vienna Beef, the CEO and all this stuff. Now, as far as I'm aware, and based on what I saw in the piece, I watched the whole piece, read through it, there's no Vienna Beef outside of Chicagoland, from my understanding. And I think that's good. It should be that way. Hey, by the way, did Abe Froman, the Sausage King of Chicago, what's his name, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, was that modeled after Vienna Beef? I don't know. And then here's another one I wanted to hit on. Biden doctor pleads the Fifth. I got some audio of him pleading the Fifth. I'll tell you why I think he is definitely guilty of committing some sort of a crime based on what he did yesterday in front of congressional testimony, which he basically didn't give any of it. Also want to remind you of this real fast. We'll get into those 3 coming up next. I wanted to remind you of this. Few times every hour you're hearing on the Morning Answer commercials or promotional for Salem News Channel. Salem News Channel, of course, Salem owns this great station. Salem News Channel is television, just like like the other news channels out there. And I have the privilege of filling in for some of their hosts. I will be on Salem News Channel tomorrow. You can check me out on my socials if you want to look at salemnewschannel.com, all one word. And so I'll be on at 8 p.m. Chicago time, 9 p.m. Eastern filling in for Andrew Wilkow, and it's a blast. It's a lot of fun. It's good times. So check that out tomorrow night. In the meantime, as I mentioned, two top malls out of the top 10. 2 of the top 10 malls are in Chicago. Which ones are they? My comments and thoughts on that. Vienna Beef, interesting story about them and their history. And Biden's doctor pleading the fifth. All that is next. Lines wide open if you want to chime in. 312-642-5600. It's Chris Crock filling in for Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Tony Dreyfus, founder and president of Metropolis Coffee Company and a proud new customer of Signature Bank. We're a 19-year-old specialty coffee roaster located in the heart of Chicago. Some of your favorite restaurants and cafes serve our coffee. As a small business manufacturer, we understand the importance of working with the right bank, and that's why we made the move to Signature Bank. We were tired of the impersonal service that our large bank had provided. A friend referred us to Signature Bank, and their team was on site to understand our operations firsthand. They provided us the working capital to continue our successful business operations and to fuel our ambitions for innovation and growth. We now have the flexibility to grow at our own pace. That personal touch, you can't find that at a large bank, but we found it at Signature, and we can't thank them enough.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
That shot was money, Lisa. Hey, speaking of, did you ever figure out what to do with your parents' old coin collection?
Not yet. I need a reputable dealer to appraise them. I have no clue what they're worth.
I just finished working on my dad's estate collections. I took it all to Fox Valley Coins. Their customer service was the best. Plus, they're super honest and reputable, but most importantly, experienced. They'll give you the best prices.
Really? They handle estate collections?
Absolutely. Buying, selling, appraising, they do it all. It was quick and simple, and we maintained our privacy. Fox Valley Coins made the whole process easy.
That's exactly what I need. Are they local?
Right in Naperville. They have an easy website to remember. FoxValleyCoins.com.
Perfect. Now let's see if you can return this shot.
Whether buying or selling or just want valuation, Fox Valley Coins is your trusted gold and silver dealer. Visit Fox Valley Coins, 1 light north of I-88 on Route 59 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. FoxValleyCoins.com. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
AM 560. The Answer.
Didn't we bomb Iran? Isn't that what they're singing about in this song? Okay, maybe not. Chris Crocken for Dan Proft, AM 560. At least I'm laughing at my own joke. AM 560, The Answer. Chicago's Morning Answer. Dan back tomorrow. 312-642-5600. 312-642-5600. All right, so NBC5 did a whole story on how it all began on Vienna beef. And they debuted the Vienna beef hot dog at the Chicago World's Fair in 1893. They call it the White City. There is a great book my dad recommended for me 10, 20 years ago. I don't know what it was, and it's called The Devil in the White City. And it's about, I think, one of the first documented serial killers or something of that nature, and he was a serial killer, and it was all intertwined with the Chicago World's Fair. That's a great book, but thank God for Vienna beef. I miss my Vienna beef. And not being in Chicagoland anymore. And can I tell you, Portillo's, I don't know if they've fallen off a cliff or they're still solid, but it is. There are some bastardizations of things that should never have happened. That to this day I'm beyond angry at. Marshall Field should never have been freaking sold. I could scream it till the cows come home and never stop screaming it. Period. The Frango Mints to me are a fraud now that it's not Marshall Fields and hasn't been that way for decades. I was so mad when Marshall Fields was sold to Macy's. I was disgusted. I was very, 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 very angry. And Portillo's, or Portillo's, whichever one you want to call it, they're now, as you know, they're all over the country, and they're here in Dallas-Fort Worth, and that is a bastardization of Portillo's. It belongs where it's from, and it shouldn't have expanded beyond the city and the suburbs. The Arlington Heights location on the Dundee, as the guy at the 7-Eleven. You take the Dundee. Dundee by 53. That was my old stomping grounds back in the day. But, by the way, supposedly there's no way you're ever supposed to put ketchup on a hot dog in Chicago. Dude, man, look, I don't know, man. I guess I'm the alien among you. Deport me. But to me, it's either just regular mustard, but you don't do that with a Portillo or a Vienna beef hot dog. You can pretty much can't put anything on it without it being amazing. But that's my little take on that. I appreciated Channel 5 doing a little story on that. I love seeing the guy that's the president of Vienna beef sitting in his lofty throne with a big fat hot dog above his head on the painting on the wall. Okay, meantime, Oakbrook Mall and Fashion Outlets of Chicago, which, of course, is the outlet malls by O'Hare. When we come into town, I'll stay at one of the nice hotels around O'Hare, but I've never gotten over there. But Oakbrook Center Mall in the western suburbs, we used to go there a little bit because I was close to where my parents used to live in Naperville, not too far. I mean, it's not close, but it's not too far. I understand that, but I don't know, man. An outdoor mall in the Midwest? No. I mean, it's only good for, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months? And then you're going to go there when it's icy and wintry out? No. No, thank you. Whitfield Mall, I'm very grateful that producer... not producer Quinn, producer Justin. He said, what about Woodfield Mall? Let me tell you something. Woodfield Mall is absolutely essential. I go there every year. I love Woodfield Mall. I'm glad it's still hanging on, as Justin said. But that should be in the top 10, and I'm not happy that it's not. Second of all, I'm sure you know this, Woodfield used to be the biggest mall in the country. And then comes the Mall of America in Minneapolis, St. Paul. I used to do a talk show there years ago and walk around with my boy child when he was 1 or 2 or 3 years old in the stroller and get my Caribou coffee and just walk around. I wonder what's going on with the Mall of America. I wonder if it's still packed to the brim. Maybe not. Oh, another mall I have to mention. It's barely... I am so sad that I read an article about Water Tower place, and all the malls, the multi-level stores. I got to tell you, man, I am depressed and sad. I'm not depressed and sad, but to see that that mall is not even a shell of what it used to be, and they're only going to lease out the first couple of stories for retailers. Dude, my dear beloved aunt who passed away, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, maybe 5, 10 years ago, she was like my grandma. She lived in Jefferson Park, Milwaukee, and I can't remember, but not far from the train station, the L, and or the Metro, whatever it's called right there. But she took me and every year to Marshall Fields, and we would go and eat by the Christmas tree. Remember that Christmas tree was like 5 stories tall? I have wonderful memories. And remember the Santa Claus there, he used to be like the Santa Claus in A Christmas Story. Ho, ho! There's a massive throne. The wait was like an hour. Those were the days, man, and it just sucks that that's not happening. My father used to be in the National Guard, and the Chicago Army was right by there, by Water Tower Place, and that was a historic landmark. There used to be a polo stadium, and his guard outfit that he was leading at that time was there. I remember being a kid and just running around in that massive old polo stadium, and it is that too is just horrible that was busted apart and demolished. All right, real quickly, Biden doctor pleads fifth in speedy House closed door. You know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this one coming up at 8:55 because we got to talk to Scott McKay coming up next in just a couple of minutes. We're going to talk about the Epstein mess. He says it was always going to be this way. And I want to talk about Brennan and Comey with him as well. That's coming up next in just a couple of minutes. It's Chris Kroc filling in for Dan Proft, AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning. It's 73 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump says 50% tariffs on copper imports will begin August 1st.
He previously had announced the tariff, but posted the start date on Truth Social Wednesday night. Trump said the timing was based on a robust national security assessment. Copper is the third most used metal in the U.S. after iron and aluminum. The tariff aims to boost domestic production, as the U.S. currently imports nearly half the copper that it uses. I'm Mark Mayfield.
The CEO of X is stepping down.
Linda Yaccarino announced her departure in a post on X, thanking Elon Musk and without giving a reason for the move. The former NBC Universal executive oversaw a tumultuous period in the company's history, which began with Musk's $44 billion purchase of Twitter in 2022, and that saw the staff reduced by around 75% and a loosening of speech restrictions on the platforms, all directives from Musk himself. Yaccarino then had the difficult task of appeasing advertisers who were nervous about the uptick in divisive and offensive content on the platform. Ira Spitzer, San Francisco.
News is a service of Goldilocks, offering Chicagoland's state-of-the-art smart security systems to protect your home or business. AM 560 listeners receive 3 months of monitoring free with new installs. Get peace of mind by calling Goldilocks 708-889-5600. Again, that's 708-889-5600. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Hugh Hewitt reflects on a great month for the country.
June was one of the most amazing months of my life in terms of the good guys winning everywhere. We're going to count the first 3 days of July if we can get the one big, beautiful bill. But we haven't had a month like this in a very long time, not since maybe the Soviet Union fell apart and the Berlin Wall fell down in '89.
The Hugh Hewitt Show, afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Your home or business has storm damage and you have an insurance claim.
Call CrossCom.
CrossCom Construction and Public Adjusters. Today, insurance companies are notorious for offering way too little money to repair damage to your home or commercial building due to wind, hail, tornado, floods, or fire. CrossCom works for you, not the insurance company. As licensed adjusters, CrossCom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout.
Call CrossCom.
630-871-5500. After they get you the fair insurance company result, CrossCom can start doing your repairs. CrossCom is a full construction and restoration company that will get your property back to its pre-loss condition, getting your life back to normal. Roof, siding, windows, doors, fire restoration, CrossCom does it all.
Call CrossCom.
Licensed in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin.
This is Dan Lights with CrossCom. We share your conservative and Christian values.
Let us handle everything. It all starts with a call.
630-871-5500. CrossComPublicAdjusters.com.
Hey, heard you're getting ready to move.
We just listed our house on the market.
Just make sure you have the right attorney.
Doesn't the real estate agent take care of all that?
They stay involved, but you want to make sure you have a great lawyer that's negotiating the terms, helping resolve inspection items, clearing up title issues, preparing the deed and other documents, and attending the closing.
The attorneys at Nauman and Associates in Elk Grove Village have decades of experience handling real estate transactions every day all over Chicagoland. NALawGroup.com.
The Charlie Kirk Podcast is on the Salem Podcast Network.
The media far too often has become the enemy of the people. The media told those of us that noticed Joe Biden's mental decline for years that you are wrong, that you are spreading mis and disinformation. They knew how bad this was, and these reporters actively covered up one of the greatest scandals in American history.
Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Scott Tucker Solutions and his show Retirement Decoded. Sunday mornings at 8. Learn more at ScottTuckerSolutions.com.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 16 minutes, outbound 15 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 28 minutes, outbound about 28 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 35 minutes, outbound 27 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 32 minutes. Outbound is about 23 minutes. This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. When you're trying to find quality candidates, all the searching, screening, and interviewing can become a job itself. You need Indeed, the all-in-one platform that makes it easy to interview, screen, and hire quality people. Visit Indeed.com/credit. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be partly sunny with a high of 85. Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with a chance of a thunderstorm and a low of 70. Tomorrow, anticipate partly sunny conditions during the day with thunderstorms possible at night. The high will reach 89. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
I'm dancing. You can watch live. Chicago's Morning Answer live. Go to YouTube, type in Chicago's Morning Answer. Boom! Click live. All right, Scott McKay, publisher of The Hayride and senior editor at The American Spectator, author of Racism, Revenge, and Ruin, From Hellmarsh with Love, a Mike Holman novel. Scott McKay, thanks for joining us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. All right, let's spin the wheel. Let's start with Brennan. It's kind of a toss-up between Brennan and Epstein, Brennan and Comey. So with Brennan, let's play a little piece of audio from him trying to dismiss all this.
Russia interfered. They tried to help Donald Trump. They tried to hurt Hillary Clinton. They tried to, undermine the democratic foundations of our country in terms of our election integrity. This has been validated over and over again. Move on. Get over it.
Well, that's certainly not. Yeah, that's not how I feel. I'm going to guess that's not how you feel. What do you? What's your reaction?
Well, it kind of sounds like he believes that, which is. I don't know if that's, I think it's kind of scary, actually, that he might just be delusional enough to believe his own BS here. I don't think anybody else believes it. I don't think any of the Democrat politicians who employed John Brennan ever believed it. Clearly they didn't. They were, this was a holistic concoction of the Hillary Clinton campaign. And John Brennan is either a pathological liar, crazy as a loon, or a super, super dumb guy. Like, and maybe some combination of the three. Because what certainly is not true is this base allegation that, the Russians somehow affected the 2016 election and installed Donald Trump as president with $200,000 worth of Facebook ads.
That's exactly,
that
yes.
did not happen.
Yes, so a couple $100,000 of some ads on social media. And this clown's going to tell us, John Brennan's going to tell us that affected the election. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Here's a question I'd love John Brennan to answer. So if he thinks that $200,000 by Russia bought the 2016 election, does he think that Chinese money bought the 2020 election?
Aha!
I'd like to know his answer to that question, because now we have evidence, which of course was suppressed by his friends at the FBI, that China was printing up fake driver's licenses to get people to the polls. You had the Chinese consulate in Houston that had to do their little bonfire of all the files when we were about to, and plenty of allegations that China played a big part in the Black Lives Matter riots, right? Like, so I'd like to know if John Brennan is like, oh no, that's a conspiracy theory. I'd love to hear John Brennan go on TV and tell that to the American people, because then we'll have the full measure of who John Brennan is.
From this lengthy Fox News exclusive, this piece 2 days ago, on July 28, 2016, Brennan briefed Obama on a plan for one of Clinton's campaign foreign policy advisors to, quote, vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal claiming interference with Russian security service. In the office that at the time was Biden, Attorney General Loretta Lynch, and James Clapper, and in the Brennan-Obama meeting. This whole thing was open and rigged and done with the blessings of Obama and Biden et al., correct?
I don't know that there's any credible denial to that at this point. Like, this is like well known. And in fact, before these guys thought anybody would find out about this, they were bragging about it. Like, that's the whole Peter Strzok, Lisa Page thing, right?
Right.
They were bragging about it. Oh, yeah, he won't win. We got an insurance policy against this guy. Like, they were open about it. They were so arrogant it wasn't even funny. And then they managed to control the original investigation of this thing, which was the Mueller investigation, which was a joke. That's been proven to be a joke. And for John Brennan to hold on to this, it's, I keep coming back to the Kevin Bacon and Animal House meme because it's just so good at explaining this. But, this is him, standing on the sidewalk. Everybody's running by in a panic, and he goes, oh, all is well, right? Like, that's who John Brennan is at this point. And it's humorous if you can get past the utter insult of this guy, peeing on your leg and telling you it's raining.
Yeah. Okay, now, Scott McKay, publisher of The Hayride and senior editor at The American Spectator, and author of Racism, Revenge, and Ruin from Hellmarsh with Love, a Mike Holman novel. Do you see, now that the Justice Department, FBI Director Kash Patel has gotten a criminal referral from the DOJ, do you actually see this being prosecuted? Do you actually see this with Brennan getting some sort of punishment or jail time?
Well, can you prosecute it someplace other than Washington, D.C. is my question. Like, if you can do this, and I don't know where Brennan lives. I don't know if he lives in Maryland or Virginia, or, I would guess in Northern Virginia, you might be able to get something like a real trial. We've already seen with, what prosecutions have been had on the Russia hoax, that a jury in Washington, D.C. you're wasting your time even bringing up, trying to get an indictment, because they will not, like, these people will not, they will not allow any of their own to be held accountable for anything. That's for people like Scooter Libby, not John Brennan. So if you could try him in Virginia, I could see Brennan coming to grief, and I could see the same thing for Comey and Clapper and some of these other guys. The country needs these people to be held accountable because, especially in the wake of like what's going on with Jeffrey Epstein, we got to have some skins on the wall. Otherwise, nobody is going to believe that the elite in politics, economics, or culture will ever be held accountable for the awful, awful, corrupt things that have been happening over the past 25 years. So you have to have somebody has to be, made to pay for things that we all know they've done. And if
unbelievable
that doesn't
things
happen here, we got that's a problem, because how are you going to make regular folks play by the rules if they know that the elite are a bunch of criminals who don't?
How about this? Regardless of what jurisdiction the case is brought to you, do you anticipate or do you feel that prosecution is likely, even if they don't get a conviction or anything? Do you feel that charges and prosecution is likely in this, a criminal prosecution?
Yes. I mean, I can understand it if there's no way to prosecute these guys outside of D.C. Like, I can understand how you'd say that, we're not going to waste our time. Like, I get that, but I still think you got to climb that hill.
Right.
I
agree.
I think you got to. And if a jury in D.C. votes no, then at that point you start moving pieces of the government out of Washington. Right.
Yes.
It's like, okay, well, we're going to do collective punishment, and I'm going to destroy the economy of this town because it's full of people who need to be destroyed. Right.
Yeah.
Like that would be your justification for, agriculture department moving to, St. Louis or Kansas City or something. And then, the rest of these agencies getting dispatched to, parts of the country that, government bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. really don't want to live in.
Here's a column from The Spectator. And I believe you wrote this one, didn't you, about the Epstein mess?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's up this morning, yeah.
Yeah, right on. So the Epstein mess was always going to end this way, it says, that you wrote. And then also you talk about how Trump's approval rating ticked down in Rasmussen's tracking poll released Wednesday. A lot of people that are Trump supporters are mad at him for the Epstein stuff. Yeah. I am not. And here's one of the things I read about from my buddy Eric Erickson in his column, that the reason why they don't have a client list is because the majority of these victims, these young ladies at the time or girls, it was signed to NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, and they need to, not blaming them, not attacking them, but they need to come forward and say, I was one of the victims. Here are the people that are on that list that I know of, and say that. And that the non-disclosure is not going to get anybody to talk, and so the only way to do it would be the victims to come forward. Does that sound about right to you for why we have no idea who all these clients are?
Well, I think it's a twofold thing, and if you read the piece that's up at the Spectator, I think it's at the top of the front page of the Spectator right now. I say that basically you'd have to go by what's in the files, like if they have video and all of this kind of stuff. If you can't get the girls to come forward, and the girls are either it's an NDA. I don't know if you can necessarily make an NDA hold if it's conceal a crime.
Right.
But, I mean, okay, then there's the Virginia Giuffre story, right? And a couple of months ago, she committed suicide.
Yes.
I'm not convinced that had anything to do with Epstein. But it's not like she's had a real happy experience after she outed Prince Andrew with this.
Right.
So there's that. And so either they're scared stiff, they got paid off, right? Either way, nobody other than Virginia Giuffre has come forward. So you'd have to depend on the file. And Team Obama, which includes, the corporate Joe Biden, they were in charge of that file for 12 of the last 16 years. I can tell you that file, that's like a dime bag of cocaine that's been cut with so much baby powder nobody can get high off of it anymore. They have adulterated that file to the point where there's just you can't prosecute anybody based on what Pam Bondi got. right? And then she had to fight like hell to get what she got, and it's not usable. So there's that issue. But then the other issue, and I talk about this in the column, is this thing almost certainly devolves from the realm of law enforcement to the realm of intelligence, right? And
Yes.
Everybody has talked about, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were Mossad assets, if not agents, and I guarantee you they couldn't just be working for Mossad on American soil. They were working for the CIA too.
Right.
So you get into a situation where this becomes a really deep mess. And I'm not just theorizing about this. If you'll remember back in 2017, I guess it was, Alex Acosta, who ended up being labor secretary in the Trump administration the first time, had been the U.S. attorney down in Miami.
Yes.
And had been involved in the prosecution of Epstein.
Yes.
And Acosta in 2017 said, I was told he was intelligence.
Yes.
So we know that there is some relationship there. And if you're going to do this and you're going to take down Mossad for, running teenage hookers to get compromat on powerful people, it's morally, I think it's certainly justified to do that.
Right.
But Mossad's not going to just sit there and take that. They're going to spill the beans on all kinds of things that nobody wants spilled. And so you get to the point real quickly where it's okay, do we really go through this, ugly reckoning that maybe we do need as a society, but once we start in on that, we're not going to be able to do anything else? Or do we kind of try to sweep this under the rug, take the hit? And I think they've chosen the latter, and I don't think it's an irrational choice, especially given the first part of this, which is the girls aren't coming forward, and you have to have actual evidence to be able to indict whoever, Bill Clinton or Bill Gates or whatever, who's going to have the best lawyers in the world. And you're going to do this without evidence? Go back and watch JFK, right? Which was Oliver Stone's movie about Jim Garrison, who was the DA in New Orleans, who thought he'd prosecute Clay Shaw for the JFK assassination.
Yep.
And it was the movie actually makes Garrison out to be less of a nut than he was. That was a textbook case of a prosecution you do not bring. And it was a farce, the whole thing. If I'm Pam Bondi, I'm not going to be Jim Garrison on a grand scale. You just can't do it if you don't have evidence. And so they get put in this situation where they don't really have a way forward with this. And it's a mess from the standpoint of that, now you're going to get into the realm of intelligence and start airing things out that nobody wants aired out for nothing. Right. And so, this is a totally disgusting situation. It's rotten all the way down. But and the worst part is, I don't know how you fix it. I really don't know how you fix it. You could leak all this stuff to the media, but what do you have to leak?
Scott, we got to roll, but I love your take, man. I love it, and I love what you've, your passion on this, and for all these stories.
Hey, can I do a quick plug?
Yeah.
Okay, so this weekend at spectator.org, we are serializing the newest Mike Holman novel. It's called Blockbusters. It's about a conservative takeover of Hollywood. And so we're cutting this thing into 9 episodes, and the first one drops Saturday morning. So make sure you check out spectator.org. You're going to love this book. It's awesome.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate your time and your take, man. Talk soon.
Thanks a lot. Have a great one.
Thank you. You too. All right, we'll hit up real fast on Biden's doctor pleading the fifth. Coming up next, AM 560, The Answer.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
It's been over 2 years since Bobby Carpenter had regenerative treatments at QC Kinetics. He needed relief from knee pain, but he wanted to avoid surgery.
I thought I might have to have my knee scoped, had some injuries, some lingering pain from stuff that I had been dealing with from years of playing professional football, and things had kind of flared up again. I started talking to a friend of mine who's orthopedic, and he was like, well, try to avoid surgery if you can.
And you absolutely can avoid surgery. QC Kinetics provides patients with state-of-the-art regenerative treatments, orthobiologics from your own body that help heal and restore damaged, aching joints. And we'll let Bobby tell you about that.
It was all of a sudden that one day, a couple months later, I was, let's go jog, let's try to see what I could do. And the more I did, I was pain-free with it, and it was actually a pretty remarkable process.
Before going under the knife, see if you're a candidate for non-surgical joint pain treatments at QC Kinetics. Call them today.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
AM 560, The Answer.
AM 560, The Answer. Chris Crock filling in for Dan Proft. Just a few more minutes. Actually, like less than a minute. All right, here's what I want to tell you. Tune in to Salem News Channel tomorrow night if you have the time. 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. I'll be on Salem News Channel filling in for Andrew Wilkow and his TV talk show. And I will see you next time in just a week or two for my next fill-in. Here's Biden with his doctor pleading the fifth. Not Biden himself, but his doctor, if you will. Pleading the fifth. Actually, I don't have much time. We'll see if I can pop a little bit in right here. There we go.
Do you understand?
On the advice of counsel, I must respectfully decline to answer based on the physician-patient privilege and reliance on my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
Yeah, there you go. No. You're covering up. Hey, AM 560, The Answer, WIND Chicago.
Worthy of trust and confidence. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. That's the motto of the United States Secret Service, and some of its agents are found not so worthy over the near assassination of Donald Trump a year ago this coming Sunday.
The 6 agents were tasked with protecting President Trump at the Pennsylvania rally where a gunman